Yeah,
that's a good question. I think, for sake of complete randomness, I think we should have one of our guest hosts introduce. What do you think?
Go ahead, Bill.
Not me. That's all you, brother.
Aaron, you want to do it?
We could do Aaron Balake.
All right, Aaron. It's really simple. All you have to do is say...
I got nominated.
Yeah, exactly. Congratulations. You won the prize. All you have to say is, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Flight Test Community Podcast. By the way, this is episode 34, not 33.
Yeah, you have to say it in a British accent, though.
Yeah, no, don't do that.
I got good afternoon, episode 34.
Flight Test Community Podcast. You got to just say our name. That's all we are.
Yeah, don't worry about the episode number.
And then
Nobody cares.
And then just introduce everybody here.
Hey, you pull up a chair, shut up, and enjoy the show. Doesn't it just work?
I like that. He would be so much better.
Yeah, I like that guy.
Hey, Cyborg. Do you want our jobs?
It is live now. So.
It is.
Oh, that's okay.
Yep. See that thing right there in the top corner?
Live.
Yeah, but live is relative, remember. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and arm both of these. All right, and we are officially recording, so come on, kick out. Is it going? Is it going? I think it's going. Can someone speak for me?
Hello. Speaking. Hey, there you go.
There we go. Okay, that's scaring me a little bit. That didn't.
Is it not recording?
QuickTime stopped for a second, but yeah, apparently it was recording. But all right, whatever. Try that again. And no, I don't want to save that.
And of course, for everyone that's listening right now, we always have technical issues. So
there we go. It's up and running now the way it's supposed to. Sorry about that.
In the immortal words of
You guys should.
Yoinks and away.
You guys should.
Wait, what? I missed that for a second. What was going on there?
Hey, Herbie's on. Look at
Herbie! What's up, brother?
So many people here.
So many people. Alrighty.
You guys should see the ridiculous unprofessionalism that happens at the beginning of an RC after hours.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is it worse than us?
Yeah.
There was actually professionalism in any of that.
Oh, guys.
You can tell by the sub count.
Yeah, really. Can you, Mike? Can
you said this is episode 34, not 33?
34, yeah, 34. Mike, can you share it one more time through Facebook, buddy?
Yeah, give me 1 second.
Yep, 1 second. You've had your 1 second now.
Well, my wife just texted me, let me know she's at work, so I have to text her back. So.
Oh, that's very important.
Yes, much more important than this.
Oh man, I feel so much. I feel so much more alive with this coffee. Great.
Yeah, right. I'm telling you, dude. Tasmanian blend. This is absolutely fantastic.
Rick doesn't like Starbucks.
Yeah, that's true.
You're clearly not American.
I had it 2 times, and it was 2 times just disappointing. I think the price range was not too bad, but I really didn't like the coffee. There's just some kind of weird aftertaste that I don't like about it.
They burn it.
They do
burn their
tend to
beans.
do that.
Well, coffee ground is obviously burned for once, so...
So instead of Flight Test Community Podcast, it's Flight Test Coffee Cast.
Yeah, I like that.
We should have Monroe on here then.
Yeah, really.
Yeah,
where is he?
Eric should be
Hello and welcome,
be a
people,
fresh pot.
to
You guys drinking all the coffee.
Coffee Cast.
Speaking of, before we get officially underway, Eric, if you are listening to this part of the show, I send my sincere condolences on the loss of that family member. I'm sorry you couldn't make it out to Flight Fest.
Very much so, dude.
Condolences, buddy.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Definitely thoughts and prayers with you.
I just sent him a PM yesterday. I didn't know that there was an issue, so I'm glad you let us know.
Yeah, he couldn't make it out to Flight Fest. He was dealing with family stuff.
Yeah, his wife's brother passed away the week before.
Yeah.
So understandable that he couldn't show, unfortunately. But and Michael Hetrick, this guy. Okay, guys, real quick, if you haven't gone to the forum post with his little biplane thing, go check that out. It's really great, and I'll talk about that later. Because thank you for letting me fly that. By the way, I have not stopped telling people about that biplane.
Wow.
It's awesome. All right, so we're at 12 listeners. I think that's a pretty good place
13.
13 now, until we
I
lose
just
one.
Lyman.
so.
No,
Oh,
is
that's
that
awesome.
counting us paying attention?
Yeah. Yes, that does
Yeah, we
count.
have some lurkers here going on.
Yeah, and it's increased now 14, 15. Everyone's now coming in. Okay, fantastic.
Sweet.
So let's get the show on the road. Are you ready, Aaron?
I'm still doing this thing, huh?
Yeah. Hey, we volunteered you as tribute. That means that you are doing this.
All right. Like I said, I didn't write down much, but all right. Do we do the silence thing, or
If you don't mind, yeah. 5 seconds of baseline silence starting now.
What if we mind?
You're killing me, Jim. Right, here we go. Starting now. Everyone quiet. All right, you're on Aaron.
Thank you, Joel. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Flight Test Community Cast. This is episode 34. It's the Flight Fest East 2017 recap.
Or the OG.
You mean Mudflap? Hey!
Hey! Nailed it.
Nailed it. Yeah, it was a little damp out there in Ohio.
It was whack.
Oh boy, too funny. And Jim is on. Jim Ciara is on. What's going on? Yeah, that's you. You're typing away there, buddy. Yeah, it worked.
I'm just.
Yeah, he's like typing away. Yes, that's working perfectly fine. Sweet. Hey guys, thank you so very much for joining us. We are here a little early, and by a little early, I mean a lot of early. 4 hours for us regulars who go on at about 8 o'clock. So, yeah, it's very early for us, which is kind of fun.
There's a good reason for it.
Yeah, it's called a Belgian, and it probably would be a good idea to introduce everybody. I think Patrick's laptop fell off the table again. But that voice that you heard just a second ago, that would be our resident Belgian, Rick.
Hello, guys.
And
How we doing, Rick? Welcome.
welcome.
It's
to your
so
first
nice
show.
to be here.
So, also joining us, the dulcet tones who you heard at the beginning of the show, that was our good friend Aaron Balake.
Or
I'm
Aaron
sorry.
Blake.
I'm sorry. My Key and Peele side was coming out there for a second. Aaron Blake, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Otherwise
Yeah.
known as Bridge Inspector on the forum.
Bridge Inspector on the forum. Oh, that's
Yes.
a good idea. Forum names would be
there
good.
we go.
Rick,
Now
what's
we
your
know what
forum
we're
name?
talking
And Rick is Black Metal Dash, right?
Yeah, that's right.
All right. And the other guy who you just heard, that would be Jim. Jim CR120 on the forum, I believe.
Yes.
Perfect. And then we have probably the most iconic gentleman of FPV joining us with the most fantastic purple beard I have ever seen. We have Cyborg FPV on with us.
That guy also helped me out doing the build on the arrow. So thank you, Bill.
Did that
Appreciate it,
ever
man.
get up for that combat in time?
No, but I did fly with the streamer fun fly.
Oh, at least
There
you got
you
up. How'd you do?
Pretty well, but I was not so comfortable with the fact that it was like really fucking hot and they had the I couldn't pick up the plane.
Hey, watch the language, buddy.
Oh, sorry, I forgot. This is the family-friendly
Yeah,
channel.
and you're killing me because that means I got an edit already and we're 3 minutes in.
Press the beat
I thought you
button.
didn't speak French
Well-
in your part of Belgium.
Rest in peace, professionalism.
Oh, boy.
You killed that a long time ago.
Yeah,
Mm,
really,
good.
that was long dead.
You need to get
All
that
right,
Craig Ferguson Icarumba.
Yeah, you know what? I was talking to one of the guys over at Quad Talk because Wild Willie was on the podcast for them a little bit ago, and if anyone has seen any of Willie's videos, he has dolphin sounds to bleep out any expletives that he says. So I was just putting it out there that we need to find some form of animal sound to mute out any expletives that we have.
Eagle.
Yeah,
Well,
sometimes
take
you
your
just
pick.
have an
See how
irrepressible
fat-
urge.
Yeah, we'll see about that. That should be
It happens a
entertaining.
lot, unfortunately.
Anyway, but all right, so how about this? So we usually do updates, but seeing as there's very many of us, let's real quick just go through what we've been up to in the last week. We'll start in order left to right. That would be Aaron, then Jim, then Pat, then Cyborg, Bill. Sorry. Then Rick, then Mike, then myself. So, Aaron, what'd you get up to this week? Real quick.
I bought a microphone so I could do this.
Sweet. That basically means he's asking for a job. Okay.
Look, we're costing him
otherwise-
money. We're eating around him.
Yep.
Otherwise, I'm just still sorting through all the pile of stuff I dumped out of the RV from the Flight Fest return.
Oh, too funny. And Pat, Jim, you're up next. Jim, what'd you get up to this week?
Well, Nate, also known as Grifflyer, he invited me to join him on a project for this for next year, and he suggested the XF5F TAC1 as a project. So I accepted. So we've been doing a little bit of digging on the specs on that and thinking about where we're going to head, and that's where my focus has been.
Well, that's rad.
Awesome.
And
Is
Pat,
that for the World War II thing, or is that a different?
Yes.
Okay,
Awesome.
cool.
Yes, it's
Nice.
it's one of those experimental things that didn't take off. They built one, and the Corsair and other thing, and the Wildcat, they were less expensive. They took off, and the Skyrocket, the F5F1 Skyrocket, was more
how
expensive,
interesting.
even though it could outperform in some regards.
Hey, how'd you make out at the store with that helicopter? Did you guys get a receiver for that in there?
I did.
You did?
So I did do that too. I did take a trip down to the candy store, and I got a receiver for the helicopter that Cyborg graciously gave me.
Sweet, dude.
Great.
Yeah,
Very
he
cool.
gave me a 3D helicopter. That's no small thing. This thing's very pretty.
We're definitely going to have to talk on that a little bit. Patrick, buddy,
sir.
what you been up to?
Well, this week I've been mixing a lot of paint, and taking my wife to various doctor's appointments. But finally today I had a day off, so got up at a reasonable hour this morning, and I am bound and determined to maiden the MiG-21 today. So as
Sweet.
long as this podcast doesn't go until after dark, I have a very, very good shot of getting that done.
I don't foresee this going longer than, especially because you're in the north, so the sun doesn't set until 8. So I doubt that we'll be here until 8. So you can definitely go out and maiden that, and we want to hear about it. So you better post on Facebook for us.
Oh, it'll be videoed.
Oh, good.
The carnage will be recorded.
Bill.
Oh, and also,
Oh, sorry, Pat.
oh wait,
I thought you were done.
go ahead to Bill. He's better to go on to Bill.
No, go on, Pat. Finish up what you're doing,
Finish
brother.
up, buddy.
No, really, I don't have anything that exciting to say. Trust me.
No, I do.
Well, what about the story, Pat?
Oh,
They-
we'll get to
they-
that later. We'll
Yeah,
get to
that'll be
that
later.
At the end. That's at the end. Pat has an amazing story, guys. So
Yeah, you definitely
will
gotta hear it.
We'll catch that at the end. Bill, go for it. What have you been
Yeah, I
up to?
tried building my 100-mile-an-hour quad and mating it. I learned really quick. Do not put the FC in facing backwards and forget to tell it it's facing backwards.
Oh no!
The first attempt, I tried cutting my own feet off.
Oh,
The
dude.
second attempt,
Oh, dude.
I launched it like 40 yards across the field. So I figured the third attempt, I'd hold it down with a broom. I got video of that. That is posted on my page.
Oh,
It,
please send me the link.
It fired up. It
Send
flipped
me the
over.
link.
Tried to crawl up my friend Tom's leg, who was filming it. Directed it at him across the field, and I got this goofy look on my face.
Oh my god, that's
Oh,
amazing.
After that failure, I figured I'm all wired. I can't sleep, so I spent the night building SE5. Got that all done.
Very
Put
nice.
the electronic, put the receiver in and get ready to main that. And then pretty much I had actually a chance to fly my my Alien with the new gimbal. So I got some M9s finally.
Very nice. Good choice.
Oh my god, that thing is just so sweet. Now I see they cheat. They use them gimbals. That's how they do it all
Yeah.
smooth. It
Yep.
ain't the radios, them gimbals.
Yeah. So,
Mhm.
so when you say the gimbals, I'm like pretty much an idiot. So
Hall effects.
are you talking about you put new gimbals in your radio,
Yeah.
or
the
Yes,
Hall
the
effect?
Hall effect sensor
Camera
M9
gimbals,
gimbals
right?
for the Tyrannus.
Yeah, Tyrannus. Yep.
Buy 'em.
M9s. Yeah.
Skip buying toilet paper next month. Buy the
Oh.
gimbals.
Dude, no, I'm serious. I'm with this guy 100%. But I'll talk about that in a little bit with my update. So, Rick, what have you been up to, brother?
Well, first off, getting safe at home, and then sleeping. A whole lot of sleeping.
Yeah, America will do that to you.
so here's
empathize.
here's the
Well-
weird thing about here's what I find weird about Rick. Okay, so if you go on Facebook on the chat at any moment in time, 24/7, Rick seems to be there. So he flies over to America here, and you know you would expect his sleep schedule to be totally screwed up. This guy
Which
was
it
in
was.
bed like 8 o'clock every night. 8 o'clock every night. Like you had the most normal sleep schedule here of any of us.
How could you even think
Yeah,
about going
that's
to
true.
sleep?
I mean,
really?
all the other guys in the house. I mean, Seth, Sean, Patrick's sons. They slept on very late hours, and I usually just slept on very normal hours, 8, 9, sometimes
Yeah.
10.
America works well for his sleep schedule. Belgium is not.
Very funny. That's very funny. I wouldn't have coined that. That's kind of great.
Yeah, it was
well,
really weird. I already miss it. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, hey, first of all, thank you for coming out because it wouldn't have been the same without you being around. So you're gonna have to make sure you come out more frequently.
I will try.
And second of all, dude, we are glad that you're home safe. But
Yes.
frankly, we should get you out here full time, as with Asbjorn.
Yeah.
But that's another one. But Mike, let's move on to your very I feel for you, buddy, so much right now.
Yeah. So I built a Hyperlight Floss quad,
Which is
a
disgustingly cool.
5-inch
Ah.
quad,
Ah,
all up weight with a 1300 3-cell in it at 362 grams. Just gonna be a beast, right? So I'm using the Maytech F405 board in it. And here's a quick, if for the people that are not watching, sorry, but for the people that can watch, that's
Hold
the
up, hold
quad
Yeah.
finished up with the whiskey props on it. It looks
Yeah.
fantastic.
oh my
It
god.
really does.
All ready to
Come
go.
on.
Beautiful, beautiful.
That looks amazing. And
So
what
Are they
brand
just
of
like
props
doing
do you got on there,
5x5s?
Mike?
that's the whiskey props.
The whiskey props are a 51, 52 gem fan, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
Ooh.
it's a
And,
beautiful,
sounds mean.
beautiful quad,
What
dude.
ESCs are you running that on?
30 amp BLE. I don't remember which ones they
S,
are.
right?
I'd have
They're
to
the
go look.
BL S ones, I think.
I think so.
They're
Yeah.
not the bullets, are they?
No,
No.
thank
Okay.
God, no.
No.
I made sure he didn't do those.
Yeah. So anyway, so I'm getting ready to get everything ready to go, and I go to plug in my mini USB and fire up Betaflight 3.2 and reflash it and do all that. And when I do, it's not wanting to connect. So I'm thinking, all right, maybe I got a bad cable. So I start switching out cables, and I go to 3 different cables that I know have worked in the past. Well, none of them work. So I start squeezing on the board and where the plug goes in. And when I squeeze on the board, I notice that it works. So I get to looking at it underneath a magnifying glass, and lo and behold, the solder joints on the pins for the plug are shot. And I spent a week building this thing, making sure, because the F405 is a way different board. And
and it's a good board too.
And I wanted to make sure it was all right. And then what happens?
Yeah, it's just, it's such a shame because I know how much time and energy you spent getting that right, putting the solder joints on and making sure that it was the best that it possibly could be. And I even checked his wiring, so I can vouch for the fact that his wiring was on point. And it was one of those things where there's a fault in the board itself and it's not firing with Betaflight at all.
So I've got to...
Is there any way that you can resolder that
they're so small.
It's tiny, dude. They are the smallest pads you've ever seen.
That easy.
Well, I'm not any good at it, so I've got a F3 KISS board.
Yeah, just switch it out.
KISS board, nice name.
Kiss it out, brother.
Yeah,
that's the way to do it.
Reliable. It works.
So are the points smaller than the Gremlin ones?
On that USB pin, yes.
It's tiny. It without risking damage to the board. It's probably better that he reaches out to who he bought it from.
Yeah, because those type of connectors are wave soldered. They're not hand soldered.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Thanks, by the way, Aaron. So yeah, real quick on my side, I have not been doing much of anything. I've been assembling my CUDA kit from Lane's Planes. I got an EPP CUDA from Lane. We'll be talking about that here in a little bit. But I've been putting that together. But I also have this Tyrannus. Ooh. And this is my radio. I've had it for just over 2 years almost. Yeah, pretty much.
He's going to try to sell it on the podcast.
In fact, no, it's already been sold to someone who you know. So our good buddy, Chip Hunter, is the new owner of this radio.
Oh, nice.
And he is going to be receiving this in the mail by FedEx. So thank you to my team over at FedEx at my hotel who are setting me up with shipping for it. But this is going up to him so he can do repairs on his radio because I have on order from Aloft Hobbies a QX7.
Oh, did you decide to go there?
Oh, yeah. And
wait,
because...
Wait, stop. So you're getting rid of your
brain turning here.
You're getting rid of your fancy Tyrannus. To downgrade to a QX7.
No. And this is where things get interesting. So what I like about the Tyrannus Plus is that it has the haptic feedback in it. This radio is a regular Tyrannus, which doesn't have the haptic feedback. Also, this is an original Tyrannus, which is probably about 3 or 4 years old anyway. So it's starting to, it's not showing any signs of wear and tear, but the gimbals definitely are in need of replacement. And I know exactly what Chip is going to be using this radio for. So for his purposes, is absolutely perfect.
Is he making his corporate jet?
No. He's actually going to be taking the main board out of my Tyrannus and putting it into his, and then using the rest as spare components. No surprise. And so the QX7 is actually going to receive Hall effect gimbals immediately. So I've got the M7 gimbals ready to go, and I've got the QX7 with the charge kit and the lithium pack. And basically, I was able to do all of that for the amount that I sold the radio for. So I get a nicer, upgraded radio. It takes the AA batteries, as Pat said, which is really, really nice. So if you lose charge on the lithium-ion, which it's hard to do, I've charged this radio maybe 4 times total since I've owned it. So I doubt I'll have any issues on the QX7, which is going to be really, really nice. So for So the QX7 with the M7 gimbals, Hall effect, so it's a total radio upgrade. So for the quads and stuff, it's going to fly absolutely fantastically, and I'm really, really excited to do that. The CUDA, I'm actually putting FPV gear on that because Lane and I were talking about it. So my EPP CUDA is going to receive full FPV gear.
Wow, that's going to be a fast FPV plane.
Oh yeah, it is.
Wow.
But the beauty of it is that it slows down. The EPP one actually can slow down quite nicely. So it can slow down.
It slows down a lot when you hit something.
Well, yeah, that's if you hit it something, but it can slow down to like 35, 40, which is nice. So it can speed up to 80, but it can slow down to 40. So it's a really versatile little platform.
That's a pretty good range.
So I'm pretty excited about that. So we'll get moving on that real quick.
I know one thing your QX7 won't have though.
Yes.
What is that, dude? What is that, Jim? Sorry, Bill.
That's my new gimbals, but what I did is I took an old set of metal darts.
Yeah.
The M9 gimbals are too small.
Damn, dude.
And it works out perfect.
Oh, dude, that's brilliant.
That's a fantastic idea. Well, because
it's a longer throw.
Yeah.
It makes it so much more smoother. But just those fingertips for the darts, they fit so comfortable.
Does it fit just exactly?
No, I got electric tape underneath them on the threads for now.
Okay.
But I'm gonna have a friend of mine drill in deeper and tap it so I can go all the way down, and that makes
That's
the length.
an M3, right?
Oh man,
dude, what a great idea!
They're heavier, and they're comfortable, and it just.
And I'm seeing you're a pincher. So so basically, guys, for those who are audio only, Bill has basically adjusted his radio to get larger extensions on the sticks.
Wow.
But for pinching purposes, instead of putting small movements on small sticks, he can do slightly larger movements on long sticks and have the same effect of smooth flight. Dude, that's a brilliant idea.
Hey, can you freeze it so you keep it on his camera when he's holding the
Bill,
sticks up there?
Can you bring your radio up one more time?
Sure. I'm going to jump out of the chair too and go change the battery. It just beeped.
Oh, there you go. Here we go.
Dude, I'm all kinds of excited about this.
That's pretty fantastic,
dude. And they are really pretty. They're like blue and gold, and it's kind of got little divots through each
Actually,
layer.
they're anodized black, and the black is almost like grippy tape. It's texture.
Dude, that's fantastic.
Yeah, they're like $30 set of darts from way back in the day.
Yeah, but that's awesome, man.
And they just screwed right on, huh?
They will when I'm done. The threads are a little big for the Taranis sticks, but there's enough clearance between where it's just pressed down on the electrical tape, where I can tap into the brass and thread it for the Taranis stick, and take them all the way the rest of the way down, and they'll be the perfect height.
Nice.
They're just a touch high right now to get full throws with my pinching, but once they drop that last quarter inch, they'll be perfect.
That's fantastic.
Now, before you put it down though, we still haven't seen on the big screen the extended sticks, and it only switches when you're talking, and then you pull.
Oh, that's for you. For everybody else, looking at YouTube, they saw it close up.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. My bad.
Your view, because basically I have master control. For everyone who got a chance to see that, we'll take a snapshot of it and we'll put it up.
I'm gonna post on the forums to show it.
Yeah.
Please do.
Good enough.
Make sure you send me the link, and we'll do a hyperlink on our website as well.
Cool. I'm gonna go switch batteries. I'll be right back.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. Awesome. So
I just went and checked my darts. They're wooden.
Oh.
I'm a little disappointed.
Well, it just means that you're gonna have to order some now, Pat?
That's a fantastic idea. That's awesome. Wow.
So we'll definitely, guys, keep an eye out. As soon as we get the link from Bill, we'll post it on our website, and it will be linked in the show notes. And yes, I will make sure they're in the show notes, guys. So, all right. So let's go ahead and talk real quick about two things, because two real quick things I want to bring up. Number one is thank you so very much to everyone in the community who came and approached us at Flite Fest.
Yes.
I think Mike and Pat can attest the number of people who approached us to say thank you and to say that you listen and that you really enjoyed the show means the world to us. And we cannot thank you guys enough for making Flite Fest as special as it was.
Dude, I signed a baseball.
Yeah,
That
we'll
was-
I
talk
did
about
too.
Andrew, we'll talk about Andrew Snyder here. We'll definitely talk about Andrew because he needs to come on the show. He's been a long time listener, and he's an awesome dude.
Yeah.
True that.
But with that being said, we really, truly want to thank every single person for being there.
Yeah, absolutely.
The second thing we want to say right off the bat before we get any further is a deep, heartfelt apology. Because
Yes.
our build night was moved at the very last minute, and we know a good number of people who listened to the show and who came into the session late because of the time switch. And Aaron, actually, I'm glad you're here, because Aaron was a very unfortunate victim of that. Aaron was a volunteer at the entrance of Flite Fest, so he didn't have access to any communication channels that this was being broadcast to, and unfortunately he did not make the session for our build night. And so while you're here, Aaron, a deep heartfelt apology to you.
Absolutely.
Well,
And-
to a lot of people, things just got messed up with all of the rain. From the get-go, everything
Yeah.
was running behind. The tents
Yeah.
were not set up because of the rain.
We were a
tent-
day and a half behind on everything.
Right.
Mhm.
And I don't know exactly what the details were about all the schedule arrangement, but I'm certain, I'm certain that it had to do with venues changing, because it seemed like everything was all of a sudden happening in the STEM tent. And I know it looked like there was a spot in one of the build tents where there was a large space that was open, and I suspect that was where maybe our build night was going to happen, and some other events that happened, like Q&As and stuff throughout. And that tent just happened to be at the bottom of the bowl. And
Yeah.
So, yeah. So they had to rearrange. The funny thing was, so this was what, Friday, right?
Friday, yeah.
Friday morning.
And that's why, and real quick, before we go a little further, Pat, because I know you want to jump on this a little bit. I just honestly wanted to get the blanket out there apology to everyone who missed the time, but to everyone who showed support of that build night and who wanted to come in and join us for it, a huge thank you. Because again, you guys are the ones who make these type of sessions possible for us, and we really, truly appreciate every single one of you.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. We weren't mad. We were upset for the people who had paid money to be
Yeah,
there
many people.
and
for so
Yes.
missed
much
it
more reasons.
because it was last minute. Like I said, I'm not sitting here blaming anybody, because it just was what it was. It was
Yeah.
a
It
situation.
just
We all were
happened. It was
struggling.
out of everyone's control.
Changes
Exactly.
had to be made. But the funny thing was, I was asleep that morning in the camper that Ryan had graciously allowed me to stay in, and I got to figure out. I don't know if it was me or what, but all of a sudden, Ryan and Seth stopped sleeping in the camper. So I don't know. Maybe I was gassy. Maybe it was my snoring. Can you guys hear me? Because I don't get any.
You're worrying now. I don't know
Yeah,
what's going on with your audio,
I'm
dude.
going to drop out of the call and come back.
Yeah, come back in.
Yeah, you
Well,
have been
well-
sleeping a lot, Pat. Actually,
Yeah.
you have been sleeping for a pretty long time on a few days.
Yeah, we'll fix Pat's audio and we'll let him pick up back from where we were. But we'll get more into the details of that story here in just a little bit, because we'll bring that up in terms of Friday's session.
Yeah, the
But
thing is everybody's schedules got screwed up. I mean, the
Yeah.
STEM builds
Yeah.
got pushed up, and a
Yeah.
lot of people got really angry about that.
Yeah.
Some people didn't even get their kits or anything
Exactly.
when they pre-registered and all.
Exactly. So let's talk real quick
Hold
about.
on, Joel,
Cool.
can I stop you for a sec?
Yeah, shoot.
When I was talking a few minutes ago, could you guys hear me?
Yeah, we could hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, because I couldn't hear. I that was the third or fourth time that my audio is completely dropped out. So whenever that happens, I'm going to bail and come back.
That's okay. Yeah,
I don't know what's going on.
that's fine. No worries. Yeah, we got you. But let's rewind a little bit because we'll get more into the details of our build night because we'll talk about our build night because we got a lot of really good feedback on it again. But let's rewind and let's talk about the location. Location.
Very important.
Very important. So let's talk Fury Field in Malvern, Ohio. Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful place. This is the second year I've been in attendance. Aaron, Jim, and Bill, this is your what? You guys have been pretty much since the beginning, right? Oh, Jim, it was your first too?
I've been with the Flight Test Forum pretty much since the forum started and Flight Test started, but that was my very first trip to Malvern for the Flight Fest. I mean, when you're a dad, a husband, a grandpa, and everything, and you got family stuff, sometimes you can't get away. This was the first year I could actually get away and take care of things, and my wife held one fort.
I'm so glad you got to show up.
Heck yeah, brother.
Don't forget the pies, man.
Absolutely. Okay. So
I was happy to bring the food.
How structured do we want to be with this? Because you know, I just
we're starting off this way, but we'll adapt as need be.
So I'm going to go with this right now, Jim. Okay, so here's the deal, folks out there listening. So we rolled in on Tuesday, right? No, we rolled in on Tuesday, and so then a bunch of us went out to dinner to the Mexican restaurant that night. So it was Wednesday. Was it Wednesday night? Okay. So yeah. Jim and Bill Cyborg arrived on Wednesday. So here we are in the middle of this flipping, just muddy pig wallow of a field, and we're eating freshly cooked live.
Well, they were live.
Well, they were live. Wait, was it Wednesday night? I'm pretty sure that was Thursday night, wasn't it?
It was Wednesday night.
Oh, it was Wednesday night. Wednesday night was okay. So
this guy.
I have to agree.
Dude, we're looking at each other like this is just completely surreal.
So wait,
we're sitting here eating lobster that is like
better than that. It gets better than that though, because first of all, I had to do a double take when Jim comes over and he's like, "Hey, would you like some lobster?" I was like, "He's got to be pulling my leg. There's no way this guy has fresh seafood with him in this field. There's no way."
Well,
and all of a sudden, like, there's another.
Here with friends of mine before we got there.
Yeah, in our camp area, I saw like there were like shells littered like all over the camp area. So I'm like, this cat isn't joking. There's legit Maine lobster in this freaking field.
Yeah, and really good.
Dude,
really good.
Okay. I have to admit, dude, by far the best lobster I have ever eaten.
Well, the only reason it was the best is because he did the DJI dance with each one before he threw it in the water.
Right on.
Wait, did you sing all the single ladies while you were doing it?
Well, yeah, well, he kind of sang, but it was more like the sweetest thing, like chick pork, pork, chick pork, pork.
So we're all hanging out around the Ben Greenwald's Papa. And Jim's looking for water to boil these lobsters, and so there's this gallon of water sitting there, and I yell into Ben, who's inside the pop-up, said, "Hey Ben, we need water for lobster. You mind if he takes it?" And Ben's looking at me like, "What are you talking? Huh? What?"
Like, going nuts,
really,
dude.
No. We need water for lobster. I'm giving this away. And he's just looking at me like, "What is wrong? Is this a joke?
It's got to be a joke.
I don't get it. It's not funny. I don't know where he's going with this, but he's well. And then here comes Jim back with fresh cooked lobster.
It's the brightest red lobster you have ever seen in your life.
Well,
Like,
I'm sure that probably had something to do with the fact that it had been raining for a day and a half, and it was muddy and it was terrible. But I'm gonna say it was still really good.
Yeah, and
the reason I did it was because I really like this community. I appreciate the community. And when you're coming from Maine, what are you going to bring? You got blueberries, you got moxie, and you got lobster. So I thought, I'm going to connect with these guys that mean so much to me in a way that, what is the way to man's heart? You get to their stomach.
Right,
so
to that
just
stomach.
bring a little bit of what you got.
And that's not the only thing the guy brought.
No, there's more.
A strawberry rhubarb pie.
3 pies.
Oh, crap.
And it's like, okay. It's like, this guy is like, it's like, oh, hey, I just brought you lobster, but now it's time for dessert.
Dessert, yeah. And he knows how to get to a redneck, too, with strawberry rhubarb pie.
That guy was just a real...
Oh, dude.
And he wasn't the only guy who brought stuff. A lot of people brought stuff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Including me.
Yeah. Let's switch gears real quick here and let's talk about what the Belgian brought.
Yeah. Well, it pretty much is self-explanatory, and that is 2 things: beer and chocolate. Unfortunately, no waffles, because there's just no way I can bring live hot Belgian waffles to America, because they're going to be all soggy by the time they get there. But then again, Belgian beer and chocolate, and from what I've gathered, the people seem to like it a lot.
Yep.
Oh yeah, the chocolate was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially the girls from the flight test crew, they got all ecstatic when they ate. They were like, "Oh my god, this is so good!"
Yeah, Rick, the 22-year-old, he's like, "Hey, baby, you want some chocolate?"
Really.
No,
Right. The only thing he needed was a van.
I've been thinking about it, but
Those
no
1967
sexual advances
rifle
were
buses.
made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Well.
A white van, no
Belgian,
windows.
Belgian flag on the side. That would have been the money right there.
Mystery machine.
Well, I had it on my hat, so that was something.
Yeah.
And still, even there were a lot of people that thought that I was a German.
Well, and there's good reason for it too, because there is someone else who is very famous in the community who makes a very regular appearance at these events, and that he's in the chat tonight. It is Baloo. Flawless.
Yeah, I got to meet him for a few minutes. I didn't get the chance to really talk to him. He's one of the guys I really wanted to meet, but doing this volunteer thing, man, you don't have time.
Oh yeah,
he's
been working. He's been working his butt off.
Oh yeah. And that's the thing, is Baloo is probably one of the central cores of the community. If you've ever written anything on YouTube or Facebook, he's answered you in some way.
If you've been a jerk, he has addressed you.
Yeah.
And called you out in some
That
way.
reminds me of a really funny story. Like, I remember one time I replied to one of the flight test videos, and I was just saying something really nice, just congratulating the flight test crew for something. I don't remember exactly what it was. And suddenly there was this person on YouTube that says something completely out of context. I believe it was something like, I believe it was a woman that told me I'm a butt, and I'm like, what? And Baloo was also like, what does that have to do with the context here? That is so out of context.
Yeah. Baloo puts a smackdown on people who are trying to troll.
Yeah.
And is very good at it.
He knows how to troll the trolls, which is very difficult to do, but he's a
So
master
do
of
I.
it.
The fact that she just said you're a butt, like this semi-aggressive kind of insult, which I don't really consider as an insult, that made it all so much more weird because it was so out of context.
That's too funny. But
interwebs.
with that being said, talking on the subject of food. Sorry, Pat. Did you want one more little thing there?
Yeah, I did want to make one more blue mention. If you see me sit here during a podcast and open a beer under the table, that's thanks to Blue, who felt bad for me because I was opening beers with my channel lock
Heath.
pliers. So thank you.
Are you serious?
I have a bottle
I had no
opener.
idea about that.
I do. No, hang on. Hey, I will show you. Hang on. Don't get sick of this.
Yeah, okay. Everyone, just close your eyes for a second while
Close your eyes.
sit under the table. And we
we
just lost the
lost his
camera.
camera.
What?
Hopefully he's wearing
Reconnect,
kilt
Pat.
vest.
Yeah, really.
Hopefully he's wearing
Are
pants
you wearing
today.
pants today? Yeah, thanks, Mike.
I forgot about that part. Wait.
In the meantime, I'm going to see if I still can find that comment.
I'm back.
Woohoo!
Oh God! What was that?
Oh,
And
it's
he's
gone
gone
again.
Octopus there.
And he's gone again. Oh boy!
There he is.
What is
Alright.
going on?
I don't know, dude. Whatever is
I
going
can't-
on.
This is why I can't have nice things.
No, well, we knew that anyway.
Hang on. I gotta switch to.
He's killing us here. He's gonna make my editing.
Okay.
I saw
I'm back.
a helicopter up in his rafters.
Yeah, I
You
did
caught
see
that too,
that.
that little helicopter.
Yeah, I did
What?
see that real quick. Out by
Be careful when you come back,
The
Pat.
wrong
We're
cable
all-
and
I
it
quit.
crashes. Everything comes off
Doctor's
the
there for a
table
second.
with it.
yeah,
I quit.
Put your camera back.
put your camera back, and we'll continue on. So, all right.
Chad's house is let the chaos begin. It never ends.
It never ceases to begin. But all right. So going back into it. So, with talking back about the mud a little bit. I arrived in Malvern on Tuesday, and I had every intention of arriving at Fury Field very first thing early Wednesday morning. And I sent a text over to Mike, and Mike was like, "Don't you dare come in. Dude, if you even try and come in, you are getting stuck in the mud,
Yep.
and you ain't getting out." And I said, "Okay, I won't come then." I was going to come in. I was going to help. I was going to volunteer a little bit.
It
And
was
I
too bad.
I didn't know how bad it was until Facebook started popping up. I had seen some images from Pat pop up, and Ryan had taken a good number of things with Joshua Orchard, but it was bad. Just to put it into context of how much rain we had, this is, by the way, this information comes directly from Andre Russo, so take it with a grain of salt. But according to him, we had 160
Are you
millimeters.
saying Andre can't be trusted?
That's what he did.
It's in-
He's calling Andre a liar.
No, I didn't say he's a liar, but it's in metric, so it's got to be wrong.
That's what I heard.
So, according to Andre, there was 160 millimeters of rain, right?
Which is 16
So-
centimeters.
So, yeah, that's that much, right? So you guys know what a weather vane tube looks like for rain collection or whatever. That's a lot of rain. Per this, that is approximately 6 inches.
About a half a foot.
Yeah, exactly, Aaron.
To prove that point, when we first got there, the second thing we did was first get some lady unstuck because she got caught in the field. And then as we were walking down to meet and see who was down in the line, there was guys with the little toy boats from Walmart racing the boats in the tire ruts.
Are you serious?
Dead serious.
Oh my
Wow.
god!
Like
my
little
God,
boats that they're
dude.
running in tire ruts full of water.
That's hilarious.
Yep.
I did see
Oh
a few
my
guys with
goodness.
RC cars driving around in the field at midnight, though, and they had really, really bright headlights.
Yeah, there were a good amount of ground vehicles
Well,
at Flite Fest.
The one set I think was they actually had armed security riding around at night.
Yes, they did.
Wait, what?
Yeah, we'll get to that in a little bit. But it was, needless to say, the amount of rain that we had was stupid. Out of everyone here, did anyone else have to swim to their tent? Mine ended up in a puddle on Wednesday evening.
Well, Thursday morning I woke with a puddle in my tent.
Oh, fun.
So did Rick.
Wasn't that fun?
Sorry, what was that? Say again?
Puddles of water in your tent.
Yeah, that probably had to do with the fact that Pat's tent wasn't properly waterproofed.
Well, I did bring, in my defense, I did bring the properly waterproofing equipment to properly waterproof it. But as soon as the tent was set up, it poured, and then it poured some more, and then it kept raining. So
you can't waterproof it while it's being.
For which I also want to
No.
thank Josh Orchard once again, real great guy, for me having. I mean, I could borrow his tent, so that's really nice of him. So if you're listening, Josh Orchard, thank you. I appreciate it.
Awesome.
One thing about those tents is when the water is going over the top of them, if you touch the sides of the tents, it'll draw the water in. What you need to do is not have anything touching the walls, so it'll just keep on shedding on the outside.
Yep. Yeah, the way we had the canopy over our two tents split between us, and with my neck, I brought a beanbag chair and a couple of pillows so I can keep my angle up, and that was propped up against the back of the tent, and it did exactly what Jim just said. It had wicked in and it started. Rolled over. I put my arm underneath the beanbag and felt the wet, and I was like, "Yeah, time to get up."
Oh,
nice.
Aaron, you've been really quiet over there. What was your what was your camp setup situation like?
Well, I showed up Tuesday about 4 hours later than I expected because on the way in, my RV decided to break the serpentine belt. So I was stuck on the side of the interstate. Luckily, I had one to change, but it's very hard to do with one person. My daughter was with me, but she just wasn't tall enough to help. So, but when I showed up, it was shortly after a big downpour that came on Tuesday, which was probably the bigger rain amounts we got. And so I had no choice but to pull into the Fury driveway, and absolutely hated doing that to find some information, because that early people weren't really volunteers weren't at their posts or anything yet, of course.
Yeah, and making the situation worse, what was intended on being the layout of the event didn't end up going to plan. I think Nick is a really good example of why it didn't work out. Mike, do you want to fill everyone in as to what happened with poor Nick?
Well, Nick decided he was going to pull his big RV in.
And this is Nick
Simpson, wait, guys. Are you talking about Nick Lechner or Nicholas Simpson?
Nick Simpson.
Alrighty.
So
Okay.
Nick Simpson brings his big giant RV, and he just comes driving in, and he gets in so far and stops. And that's where it set the whole rest of Flite Fest.
Right next to the vendor area.
Yeah, right at the vendor area.
Right at the vendor area. That big brown RV sitting right next to the poor ladies over with the Rotary Club. That was Nick.
Yep.
So yeah, we are calling Nick, brother.
Yeah, Nick ordered drinks and candy through his back window of his RV.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It was super convenient.
Well, and here's the thing, though, is I don't want to give Nick too much trouble, but, you know, other than the fact of where he put it, because that's one of the hardest working guys at Flite Fest.
Oh,
I mean,
I
he was
saw
on
that
all the time, man.
100%. Yeah, he worked like a dog, and I worked with him a little bit on Thursday, doing some lighting, because build tents weren't up yet properly, but that's because of the rain. No, in all seriousness, it was he's one of the greatest. We constantly joke with him, with the Freefall RC guys, as he's a relatively common fixture on our show now, and the joke being that he keeps going back and forth between Freefall and us, but we'll keep him as a semi-permanent host.
I don't know. I'd stack Jim up against anybody as far as what got done over on Flite Test, man. That dude's the Energizer Bunny. He didn't stop the whole time, I don't think.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about the volunteering thing a little bit, because we have these three guys, Rick as well. Rick did some volunteer work out there as well. But the three gentlemen, other than Rick, are probably some of the hardest working individuals that we have at Flight Fest in terms of volunteers. Aaron is probably most well known for your greeting position that you that's been your position what, for 2 years, 3 years running now?
Well, it bounces back and forth between parking and greeting, just whatever's needed. I've been welcome to work anywhere. Just I keep getting stuck out there, but it's great to be the first person everybody meets, especially when people like Chris Congley. I can't say his name.
Now
I can't even say it.
Nailed it.
Chris from Delaware, Ryan, you're correct. That guy was a beast.
Yeah.
Wait. Well, yeah. I wanted to make sure we talked about Chris from Delaware. I don't know what his last name is.
I don't either. The only thing I have is Chris from Delaware.
Yeah, there is also another person that I still haven't figured the name of that I really want to thank the bottom of my heart, but we can get to that as soon as we go to the honorary mentions from the last day at the volunteer meeting. Hey, look who joined!
Hey, what's up,
A little late, isn't it, man?
Late to the party. But ladies and gentlemen, the person who just joined us is none other than Ben Harbour, Boeing engineer and EDF expert, and owner of the Very Angry Bee.
Yeah,
welcome,
very
welcome, returning guest host Ben.
Thank you.
Woohoo!
It's fun.
Well,
you want to say hi?
just to get back to the greeters, talking about greeters.
Sorry.
And the things that kept changing every day. We were sending people into the field one day and over to the football field the next day.
Yeah.
Kim, so
People were parked
on that.
spots.
Can you dive in a little bit to the transportation that was procured by Flight Test?
I can.
The little bus.
The really big yellow bus.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can because I had to go sit down in the parking lot for a while.
Yeah. So Flight Test bought a bus.
It was just down the street.
And
It
what was
easily
really
available.
really funny is I didn't have anybody to drive it.
So yeah, I don't know the backstory to this. See,
I
my
know a little
impression
bit
was Flight Test with forethinking said we'd been through this before 2015. We should have a bus on hand in case. But that's not what happened.
Correct. That is not what happened. So what happened is the on-site parking situation became challenging on Thursday and Friday, as we all
Putting
know.
it kindly.
Yes, putting it
Fine if you had one of those
because of
airboats.
the situation that happened. So, by the way, Double A, is that who I think it is? Is that who I think it is? Is that Adam Drain right there?
No, Double A is another Aaron.
Oh, it's another Aaron. Sorry, I thought you were Adam
Double
Drain.
A
I
Ron.
apologize. Getting distracted here. So anyway, the situation for parking
all the time.
became challenging, and so Flight Test started to park everyone who was coming as day parking over at the school that was around the corner. But they were shuttling everybody in by golf cart. Everyone very quickly realized that that method of transportation was probably not the best method to bring everyone back and forth. So in Bixler's infinite wisdom, and we love Josh dearly, but their thought was, let's buy a bus to get everyone back and forth. And so with knowledge of Mr. Fury, they procured a school bus, and now Flight Test has a school bus in their fleet.
You got to go by the way Josh
The
thinks,
absolute
though. So
madmen.
the way Josh thinks, though, you got to look forward to that becoming like Flight Test version of the Partridge Family bus.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I want to be let loose on that thing.
Yeah.
You know, Chad Lewis is going to be spending a lot of time.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it was.
I would so love to help them, but unfortunately, I'm not able to paint cars.
It was a conversation.
But I would love to. I would
It was a
volunteer.
conversation that lasted a very very long time.
And someone needs to hide a red button on there that
Yes.
says "Do not push,"
The
even
red
if it doesn't hook up to anything.
It's great.
Yeah, and then there was also like the discussion about in what kind of palette would they paint it or what model, and most people were like, paint it like a B-17, and I immediately thought, paint it like a Memphis Belle. Paint it like a Memphis Belle. Just do that. Please.
And we've got to hire Joshua Orchard to do all the ribbons.
I don't think you could afford him.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
At least pay that guy.
The rivets would look too
He
nice.
deserves
Yeah,
it. I mean,
100%. Other positions. Let's talk about Patrick Hines for a second. I don't want to go
Oh
a show without mentioning Patrick Hines, and also someone else who was with Patrick. But I think I'll let Mike go into that a little bit. But Patrick Hines
was our electrical guy, right?
Patrick is the electrical genius that is
oh yeah,
the
definitely.
electronic infrastructure of Flite Fest. So we cannot have electricity at that event if it weren't for Patrick. So huge shout out to Patrick for
Bless
getting
you, Patrick.
all of the electronics set up and getting the generators in gear. The very entertaining story of how we couldn't get air conditioning over to the store tent because we couldn't move it through the mud.
That thing, those things were godsend.
Yeah, it was amazing when it arrived, but yeah, the fact that we didn't have it for 2 days because of the mud was pretty laughable. But in all honesty, Patrick, you are fantastic. We really appreciate all the hard work that you put in. And
you're welcome. You're welcome. Oh wait,
yeah,
you're not talking to me, are
wrong,
you?
Patrick. Okay, and now I'm going to pass it on to Michael Finley to talk about another Michael who was at Flite Fest. Who
Yeah,
gotta
and
give
So many double names. It's crazy. Not
Well,
to
this-
mention the Joshes.
6,000 people. Somebody's going to cross somehow.
Yeah. Well, we got to give Patrick Hines a little bit of kudos as well for even extending a invitation to Mr. Michael / Crash Hancock for letting him stay in his RV and everything. It was such a pleasure to meet Crash. For the people that don't know, if you ever listen to the Crash Cast podcast or Angle of Attack, Mr. Crash Hancock is having some health issues, and we are so thankful that he was able to come out and spend some time with the Flite Fest group. He has stopped all his treatment pretty much and is going to live the rest of his life, and we hope and pray that it's a very long life, but this was his first Flite Fest, and
Wow.
people need to go back and listen to the Flite Fest recap on the Angle of Attack podcast, because that guy, he gave a lot of kudos to the Flite Fest and the Flight Test crew, and of course all the volunteers and everything. And I am humbled to meet that guy. Such a fantastic individual, and has such a wonderful outlook on life, and it was an honor to meet him. So
yeah, that was one of the highlights of my unfortunately shortened time there. I went up and introduced myself. He had no idea who I was, and that's fine. But in terms of what we do as podcasting in the RC community, that guy is definitely a pioneer, and it was wonderful to be able to meet him and to see him there after knowing what he's been through.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
I
on
also
top-
like to pick up
it was
on
good
that.
to press flesh.
yes, Aaron,
Yeah.
100%.
Press and flesh.
and a real huge thank you for all of the kind words that he said
Yes.
about everyone he met in the community at the event on the Angle of Attack podcast. I believe it's episode 27.
Hang on a minute. You keep talking, and I'll.
Can you get the
look it up.
episode number?
Yep, I will.
But Crash did
Supposed to be
a
episode 1.
yes, exactly, Aaron. Crash did a review of the event for the guys at Angle of Attack, and he mentioned several names, and Mike and I came up. It is episode.
Oh, you can't. Yeah, it's
26?
episodes YO2E28.
So
Flight
that's
Fest guest.
year 2, episode 28. The Angle of Attack.
YO2E.
Yep. Year
28.
2, episode 28. The way they do it is they do it in seasons by year. So year 2, episode 28 of Angle of Attack with Crash, and thank you, brother. Truly, it
Yes.
brought a tear
Absolutely.
to my eye for sure. Some of the things that you said, and yes, granted, I am the shortest human being you have ever met.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
came
he was-
immediately noticeable when I saw you.
he was giving Lane star trouble, and then he goes, "You know, I thought Lane was short until I met Joel."
I beat Lane.
I'm never gonna forget the greeting that we had. Me and Joel and Michael. That was a funny moment.
Wait,
Michael
that's
was just he was screaming to me, and I was like, "Mike, oh, how are you, brother?" And then a little later, Joel popped up, and I was like, "Damn, he's small." Oh, that was amazing.
Yeah, it was grand, absolutely grand.
Even though the wear sucked,
At the beginning,
it still was a great time.
Yeah, no,
Later on
think
it got better, but first times were really not fun.
It was character building weather.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It was that was make or break type weather.
Yeah, I'm used
I would not
I'm
want you to
used to bad weather on festivals anyway, so it's nothing special for me. The only thing that was a little different was the tornado alarm that sounded off in the very first beginning, but when that happened, the center of the storm was already probably 5 miles off. So
Well, so we rolled in on Tuesday. We got there around 3 o'clock. I'm thinking 3:30, somewhere in there. And first person I see, I think, as we're driving in, it spawns. So wait to him. He comes over, say hi, and then we pull in with next to Ben's, pop up, and get out of the truck. And like just off to the west, you can see this wall cloud just hanging down. And
Yeah,
so
really
I mean,
ominous.
it was just. It was a curtain, a gray, dark, angry gray curtain coming at us. And I pulled the truck over to the camper that I was staying with Ryan. I unloaded everything as quickly as possible, pulled back to drove back across the vendors area and parked next to Ben's, pop up again, and the heavens just opened.
yeah,
It
that
just
was
freaking. The wind picked up. This tent there, this gray tent that I thought was Ben's tent, Ben Greenwald's tent, because it looked exactly like what we stayed in last year, Mike. You mean Asper. And so this thing is like bowing in, the windows are open. So I unzip and I step in, and there's Jeff. I don't know Jeff's last name, but he's bald. He hung out with the guys that were across from us, like that crazy Pete dude, Raffy.
Hey, Raffy.
I'm like, oh. Anyway, you had to be there, but it was crazy.
That
and
was
it just
Tuesday
didn't
night,
stop
right?
for the next 3 days.
Was that
What
Tuesday
was that?
during the day? That was Tuesday during the day, right? Or was
That was
Wednesday?
Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah.
that was the first. Yeah, that was Tuesday.
Yeah,
I mean, even before the rain hit, you could see the clouds already swirling. It was pretty ominous looking.
Yeah, I remember we were driving out of West Virginia into Ohio at that point, and we just barely missed that rain. So I definitely feel for all of you guys.
Yeah, I believe we did too as well, Pat, didn't we? I mean, most of the drive we had.
No. The
blue
drive
sky.
out, we had very nice weather driving out. It was once we got into as we approached Canton, that area, it's when things started to get nasty, and they just that nastiness just hung around for about 3 days.
Well, you guys that are not from the Midwest just doesn't understand tornadoes and all that. That wasn't.
Yeah,
it.
no,
Well,
you have it.
no.
You have it pretty rough.
The siren. So we're standing there, and like Rick said, the main part of the storm seemed to have passed, but then these sirens started going off, and I'm thinking to myself, well, Ohio, they get tornadoes pretty regularly. In fact, Eric hasn't made this real public or anything, but Eric Monroe and his wife and daughter recently bought a house not far from the Canton Airport. And about 2 weeks after settling on the house, and they did a ton of work to get the loan and everything, about 2 to 3 weeks after settling, I guess it was just before Flite Fest.
Yeah, it was a couple of weeks.
A tornado hit their neighborhood.
Oh, jeez.
Wow.
And an enormous amount of damage was done. Fortunately for them, their house was spared. But I'm standing there on this field, and I'm looking around, and I'm watching people. I'm waiting for a reaction to see, should I run somewhere? Should I? Yeah. Should I just say I'm screwed, and I'm just going to enjoy the last few minutes of my life?
I remember you said to me, like, if Austin's not running, we're not supposed to run. We're good.
Exactly. Austin's sitting there smiling and laughing. I'm like, okay, I guess we're okay.
I'm a bomb technician. If you see me running, try and keep up.
That's right.
Classic.
That'll do it.
Yeah. So yeah, that was interesting to me. Yeah, and then the weather just didn't improve for about 3 days.
Well,
matter of fact,
it started to improve, and I have to admit, it was bad Thursday, but I don't think it was as bad as they were thinking it was going to be.
Well, they were some doom and gloom people then, because it was pretty darn bad Thursday morning. Thursday morning.
Wednesday night was wet, but I wouldn't say it was stormy or dangerous in any way the way it was on Tuesday. But Thursday was just persistent rain. It was very persistent, regularly paced rain, and it didn't stop much until the overnight hours, and then into Friday morning. It rained maybe for about an hour on Friday morning, but then after that, it stopped, and it didn't rain
wasn't
again.
Also not so much of a problem. The biggest problem, of course, was the terrain, because it was just completely messed up, soggy, mushy.
2015 what surprised me the most was how fast that stuff started drying out, and
agreed.
That was just amazing. Even when before they started putting hay out and all that, just a walkway between the tents and stuff where we were,
agreed,
that dried right up.
Yeah, totally. In fact, one thing that I noticed is how humid it got because of how quickly the earth was drying. It was just all soaking up into the atmosphere. It was so unbelievably
humid. Into the comforter, into the pillows,
everything.
Everything.
I think everyone Friday morning was complaining about humidity.
I had other things to complain about Friday morning.
Well, we know about that. We'll get to that in a second. I just want to jump on Ben real quick, because Ben, you had a little bit of fun arriving to Flite Fest.
Me?
Yeah, you. Yeah, this Ben. Tell us about your arrival experience.
My arrival experience was decidedly different. It wasn't that bad. If you're remembering part of the story that I'm not, you'll have to remind me.
No,
but,
just
driving in. I flew into Pittsburgh and then drove over to my hotel in Minerva and unloaded some stuff there, and then immediately came over. And because I was there doing a booth, I had sent stuff ahead. So I had one giant, rectangular tall box full of swag stuff, and then another big flat pack 30 by 40 inch by 2 inch poster box, and so anyway, all this stuff got sent, and the address that I gave them, apparently there's multiple ways you can deliver addresses over there, and so my boxes on Tuesday, I think, got delivered. Monday and Tuesday they got delivered to a nice woman, I forgot her name, I think Michelle or Stephanie, in the northeast corner of Fury Field. Her house is just off the property. And so she calls me and says, Ben Harbor, I have boxes on my porch with your name on them. And so I then frantically start calling Jordan and Austin, see if they can help. And they were really, really great. And Austin ran over and picked him up and put him in the hangar next to his dad's RV.
The RV7.
Yeah, the RV7. And so when I drove in, I picked up boxes and started setting stuff up. And yeah, it was squishy and muddy. But, it had pretty much already been. You guys had been through the worst of it by the time I got there. Thursday, like you said, was wet, but I was stuck inside of the tent all day, pretty much.
Hey, just a quick question about that booth you guys had us up. Did you guys do a video of your box?
These are sour.
No,
I was on shifts.
I didn't. Sorry, I'm trying to adjust my volume so I'm not too loud. But
That's
I'm
okay.
sure
You'll get.
Joel is gonna track me on that.
Oh no, you're fine. I balanced you as soon as you came in.
So, yeah, I thought about that afterwards. I should have done. That's put on my notes for next time, if there is a next time, to put video up of the Q&A sessions. I didn't really have a plan for those. I just wanted to give an opportunity for people to ask questions if they didn't come by the booth, or if they just wanted to ask questions. I just wanted to give that opportunity. And so I think both of them went pretty well once people got kind of warmed up and actually started asking questions.
Yeah, because pre-Flite Fest, I had a whole bunch of questions I wanted to talk to you about, and getting busy on the volunteer stuff, I didn't get a chance to see any of it.
Okay.
Yeah, it was kind of a shame because I also wanted to talk to you, Ben, a little more. But yeah, seeming that you were busy a lot, I didn't really step by to say anything, and I was also busy building my own stuff. So yeah, sorry about that. But
I'm sorry. I mean, if you saw me in the booth, come by and ask me questions. I mean, that's what I was there for.
So Ben, from the Boeing side of things, did you feel like you accomplished what you were hoping to accomplish with the company?
Well,
other than getting them to send you there,
I have to always clarify. I kind of brought this up to my management, and yes, I mean Boeing. We had a division in Boeing called the Diversity Council, and they're the ones that sponsored this booth. But it's really, I mean, I feel it was successful. And now it's a matter of me sort of communicating back up the food chain and showing people what happened and show them, sort of make the case that it was successful. Because for the most part, I mean, Boeing, it's weird for me. I know it's very different perspectives, from depending on what you know of Boeing and where you are in your, particular walks of life. But when I think of Boeing, it's this multinational 160,000 employee corporation. So for people to say, did Boeing think it was successful? I'm like, well, Boeing didn't really know what was happening.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I mean, most of Boeing.
That's one of the things that Irby Allen's asking is, did you get debriefed?
I mean, the process. So I made a review. I made a recap report, and I did. I do my own vlogs, and I did a couple of talk clips that were geared mostly towards talking to. Or something that I would put together for Boeing. So I sort of made an internal vlog that was a little more fast-paced cuts, showing more of the event, showed our booth, and I put that in a PowerPoint with a bunch of other stuff. And
that's great.
And so that's in the process of being reviewed by people.
Nice.
As their schedules allow, because there's a ton going on at all levels. So it's my task right now is to help it get visibility. Yeah. And now that we've been there once, and everyone that has seen my recap, thinks that it was great, and is all, thankful that I pushed it and that I took the booth there.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. No, really.
It's hard. I want to make sure that Boeing has a presence because I think that's important, but I also want to make sure that it's not just me. I don't want to be that Boeing guy because there's so much more within the company. There's so many other people that can contribute stuff. There were two other gentlemen that were attending just on their vacations, and they found out that I was taking a Boeing booth, or that Boeing was showing up. One of them emailed me. He's like, "Hey, I didn't know Boeing was going to be there," And I'm like, yeah, we are. And so they actually both volunteered a few hours of their time on their vacation.
That's amazing.
And one of them was from Philly, one was from Huntsville. The guy from Philly brought stuff that he had worked on. He was the guy that brought that giant prop and motor
Monster,
on display.
yeah.
Oh wow, dude!
Matter of fact,
that
Ben,
thing looked amazing.
Yeah.
If you have his contact information, can you forward it to me, because I do want to get in contact with him.
Sure. Yeah.
Cool.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah,
I
what's
can
his
do
name?
that. Oh, the guy from Philly,
Yeah,
his name
name
was
drops.
Dwayne Myers, and the other guy was Dan Anderson. He was from Huntsville, and he plays with rockets, so he's good. He has even more fun than I do, probably.
Oh, that's awesome.
And he also he does civil air patrol, and I think I saw his son just got promoted or got his wings, or did some. They had a big thing that they just shared about. But the thing that I want to make sure is that obviously that continues in some capacity, but I don't want to be the one-stop shop, because while I do work there, that's not like and I'm proud of it, obviously, but that's not like my identity. I'd rather be, Benny and his jets than Benny the Boeing guy.
That's good. And hang on just a minute.
That's Patrick's fault. Patrick did that one.
That's amazing, Pat.
That's what I do, Joel.
Great title, man. Holy
I'm so jealous of things you can do in America that you cannot do in Europe. Like, for instance, one of these things is like you can be the private owner of a jet aircraft and sign it off as a civilian aircraft, even if it's a fighter jet, and you can have that in America. In my country, you can have that.
Well,
just can't.
It's possible, but not many of us, unfortunately,
but even that,
have that.
Well, yeah,
but given that I have family where I can go to and go out and do general aviation, that's another thing that I feel really grateful for. And yeah, it's also one of these things that not many people in my country can say that they can do as well. And yeah, it's great.
Yeah. So, Ben, thank you so much for diving into some of the details there. And I kind of want to move, because, guys, I don't want to eat everybody's time. I think it's amazing that we've got all of you as guest hosts on. And I think each of you deserve to come on individually on your own show and talk more about individually what you guys are doing in RC. Just kind of bringing it back to Flite Fest a little bit, I kind of want to talk a little bit about, hey, buddy, talk a little bit about, I'm going to talk about flying and then crashing, and then I want to bring up Lane's award real quick with Mike, because Mike and I did some talking with Lane Stair.
Really quickly.
Go for it, Mike.
Really quickly before we get away, I want to thank Ben Harbor for what I have right here. And for you people that don't know, this is an 8.4, and right here it does say Benny and his jets on it, just so you know.
Someone graffitied that, because I didn't do that.
I know you didn't do that. I just did it.
Okay. I thought Patrick got to that.
But not only that, did he not just give me that, but he also gave me a 70 millimeter EDF and EFC to go along with it.
Wow.
I am just...
And yeah, Ben, I thank you for this, because the Grand Esprit, if anybody knows what a Grand Esprit is, it's a late 70s woody sailplane with an 11-foot wingspan, and this thing is going to power it. So
that's awesome, dude.
That's a big plane.
That is a very big plane.
Yeah.
So
Ben, I didn't get anything.
You left too early.
I'm teasing you, buddy.
I don't know.
Yeah, that was one of the things that amazed me. All the different people I met, like Rocky Boy, Jonathan.
Oh
Pruitt.
yeah. Oh,
he came in, and we saw him as he was pulling in, and we yelled to him. The first thing he does, he gets out of the car, shakes my hand, gives me a hug, and then hands me this box full of quad parts, and he goes, "Here, I hope these will help you for your 100-mile-an-hour build."
Oh, that's amazing.
That's awesome.
yeah, and
that's just one other testimony to show how great the community really is.
Exactly, Rick.
Yeah.
That's what I was just getting ready to say. This community
welcome.
is like no other.
Well, I agree
gotta
with
say,
that 100%. Like, I've been in to a lot of communities, but nothing, absolutely nothing, feels even remotely close to how amazing this community is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
People understand they get
Yeah, it's
gratitude.
amazing.
I mean, when you've been given so much, how do you not share what you've been given and just give out? I mean, it's
Exactly.
better to give.
It was an really awfully big grind to get here, but it was so worth it.
Yeah,
It was so worth it.
and with that being said, I think honestly, because I think everybody kind of feels the same way, and we'll get into that kind of around the flying and the crashing a bit. But I think this year kind of felt different. I don't know whether it was rain or something just made it feel different.
Well,
Yeah.
but now, okay, so we have heard this from several people.
Yeah.
RC After Hours said the same thing. We've heard it from several people, and I do want to have this discussion. But before we, I know we're going long here, and we need to wrap it up at some point. But before we do, I want to make sure that one thing I want to hear from the people who were there for the first time. I want to hear their impressions of Flite Fest. But okay, sorry, Joel, go ahead.
No. What I was going to say was that at the heart of it all, even though the event was different and it felt different, the members of the community who we all know and love, who everyone knows who they are, and everyone who speaks to us, everyone who's on the show right now, to everyone who's going to be on in the future, you guys make everything possible, and you guys make the event what it is and what makes everything fun. We wouldn't be here without you guys, and we definitely love seeing you all. Even though the event may have been different, we still love seeing you guys. We still love talking to you, and we still so appreciate meeting every single one of you. But like Pat said, I totally agree. So Jim, it was your first time. Bill, was it your first time too?
Yes, sir.
All right, Jim and Bill. And actually, Ben Harbour, you were here last year, right? Your first year was last year too, right?
Yes, first
So
year.
Sorry,
I'm moving.
You're with me.
People are
No.
moving around.
You and I will talk after these two. So real quick, let's talk to Jim and Bill about what their initial experience with Flite Fest was.
Go ahead, brother. You go.
Well, like I was saying before, I'd been with the forums for a while. I've been connecting with people on the forums. So, I mean, there was already a good attachment there. And before the forums, I just really enjoyed the wholesome nature of flight tests and what they were putting out. And I had been in contact with some of those guys just lightly. And I just appreciated it. So, I mean, that was, like I said before, why I wanted to just really connect with you guys with the lobsters and the pies and all that stuff. That was just a friendly gesture. But I mean, to get there, I remember what Dan Cruz said. If all you want to do is just come and fly, you just stay home. I mean, and he hit it on the head. So when I came, my goal was to connect, to serve, to be a part of something that's much bigger than me. And so if I got to fly, that was going to be a bonus. So from the moment I got we got there and we're setting up and pushing trucks out of the mud and stuff, I was happy. I was happier than pig and slop. So, I mean, it was great. And to just see things, people, that character building, it was great. People weren't getting so down, or at least I wasn't seeing it. And then finally, when people were flying, I see. There was this one girl, I don't recall her name, and seeing her and her father out there, and she's grinning ear to ear. I mean, that is priceless stuff. And to connect with these people, and then for me as a believer on Sunday to worship with some of these people, I mean, it just got better and better, I came away with that with no regrets. And I flew just a couple of times. One of those, thanks to Bill there, he loaned me his Gremlin, which I've been having a problem with my Gremlin build. He loaned me his, and we just had a great time. So I thank God for the time that we had. I was not let down. I was completely satisfied in every way.
Awesome.
Yeah, and that's what it should be about.
Yeah, from I was so happy to hear that you were coming, and Cyborg was coming, because I mean, like you said, you're a moderator on the forum. And you have been for, I can remember, and
long time.
To meet you in person was so awesome, and you're such a good guy. as everybody in the community seems to be that way.
Yeah.
So it meant a lot to me to be able to meet people that I've known for a long time through the forum, but had never met in person. So that is the best thing about Flite Fest.
100%. And stop banging the table. And with that being said, now just as a curious point of comparison, Ben, did you see any noticeable difference between this year and last year?
Aside from the more obvious physical stuff like the weather, it did feel differently. So East 16 was my first Flite Fest, and then I went to Flite Fest West earlier this year. And one of the things that I made a point to tell Josh, and he also made a point of asking too, is that the community aspect still translated even to the West. It still felt like Flite Fest. It was different. It was a little smaller, but then to this year, something was a little different. And I feel, I mean, I didn't volunteer this year at East, but so I wasn't maybe in and around as many places as you guys. But the one thing that I noticed, it seemed like the staff, mostly Josh, but all of the staff seemed to be trying to do too much. It's like they had more on their schedule than they could actually accomplish. And
yeah, I had that feeling too all the time.
That kind of was the sense that I got that felt different from last year. So everything kind of felt either rushed or pushed or they were surprised by something.
Yeah.
How much of that was them trying to fit what was missed on the first 2 days into the last 2 days?
That's very possible.
That been what was throwing the things off. That just
the weather mess of the setting up the week the way the weather did. I ran into Jordan when I first rolled in, and she's like, "Yeah, I am really not happy with Mother Nature right now." And I felt for that, but so that definitely messed things up. But it didn't seem like it was something that was the only culprit. I mean, like the Flugtag build, I think added an extra level of just stuff that just was an extra energy drain or extra, energy attention suck for the staff. And I don't think that they should have not done it, but I think maybe they should have got more volunteer leaders involved to help oversee that. Because every time I walked over there, it was really cool to see Josh there working with all the kids, but and I know his heart, and I'd want to do exactly what he's doing. But there's a point at which you have to be able to say, okay, I trust these people, and I will come in and check in, once a day or something like that. But other than that, I can't be everywhere all the time.
Yeah, and I kind of, and it's hard because like the guys on RC After Hours said, they couldn't exactly put their finger on what it was that made it feel different. I almost feel, and I don't know if anyone else agrees with this, but in terms of the layout, I don't think the layout worked at all. Now,
yeah,
I don't necessarily think that the weather helped, but the layout of having everything clustered so tightly packed together, I don't think that worked in the way that they intended. And also,
I'm raising my hand here.
Yeah, no, I know. I know you're waiting eagerly, and I'm going to pass it over to you. But am I the only one who's going crazy thinking that it was just it was too small, just having 2 build tents? And that's kind of where I'm going to leave it. But I'm going to pass it over to Patrick.
Yeah, I agree, Joel. But fundamentally, the problem, I think, was where they put show stage center with all of the build tents, the stem tents, the vendor tents, was the bottom of the bowl. That is where, if you look from above, that's where all the water drained to. And
Mike, after Pat.
What's that?
Sorry, Mike wants to go after you.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Well, I can give you my thoughts on this year's Flite Fest because it got to me a little more than normal.
Yeah.
I think that honestly, it has outgrown Flight Test. I think it's too big. My personal opinion is it's too big. And the second reason that I'm pretty sure that it has outgrown itself, and I don't know if everybody knows this, but there were a number of things stolen this year. And that's the first time that's ever happened. And I am very upset and very heartbroken that our community has been invaded by people that are thieves.
Yeah, that didn't even happen at West, which was a concern that I had.
Yep, and it happened area. This year. There were many things stolen, and I don't know. I mean, Ben Greenewalt got a couple of planes stolen. There was some Chargers stolen out of the build tents. There was a quad stolen out of the, or not a quad, but a tricopter.
Tricopter.
Stolen out of the build tent.
Had instead of Fat Sharks taken.
Yep. I mean, there was a lot of things that were taken, and at this point, I'm wondering if it's just too big for the community
or the site, maybe.
Or the site, yeah. And to talk on Mike's point about the issue of trespassers. There were armed security officers on site at the event, which was, as Mike had pointed out and Pat pointed out, it was the very first time that had ever happened.
Yeah, I gave those guys a hard time.
Yeah, those guys were on night patrols, though, right?
Yeah, they were. And what's crazy is even Austin was saying that apparently there are some local kids that were watching over the event that they have problems with these kids on the Fury property, and they've had issues with these kids before. Apparently, they kept coming in to the site as well and causing trouble. So
well,
I do know related, but go on, Mike.
There was also I'm guessing locals with some trucks that come in and like right down the runway and dumped out a bunch of empty beer cans and all, I was really heartbroken.
Yeah, I got to say something to that. So yeah, that is indeed true, and I also feel very upset about that. And I would also, I'm not really sure how I can say this structurally, but I think that also had to do with the fact that Fury Field is an open field and it has not been barricaded, so it's not very hard to barge in and out. So I think a possible solution could be some kind of fencing or of some sort, or as they have said a few times before, they might have be forced to move the event somewhere else, because as you said, it has outgrown itself.
Yeah, but again, they're on their property. They can control the security within reason.
That's
place
true.
Then you have to go with outside security. It's going to be more of a presence. It's going to be more of a cost and more of a burden.
Yep.
Now,
I think that's crossed into an area that was going to happen. It was inevitable, and I don't think moving and the security is going to make those things away. I think what we're going to have to do is think creatively. How do we minimize this? How do we do it without having this big security kind of thing kind of pressing down? And how do we encourage people to have the right kind of conscience so that that stuff isn't happening?
Well, one of the things we got. Go ahead, Pat.
Oh no, you go ahead, man.
Well, one of the things that has been done since I've been on the forums, I've noticed that we've kind of policed the forums ourselves and kept the trolls out. Now that it's not so much, it's always going to be a family thing. Now that we know that there's extra people in there, I work, security in stores and stuff like that, and stuff for loss prevention and all. So had I known that family mentality was going to change this year, the whole time I was in a build tent, instead of being more focused on helping the people, I could have been keeping an eye on more when the people that I
Yeah.
was helping, when they stepped
Thank
out
you
of the
for
tent to
that,
go
by the way,
fly.
Bill, because he also helped me out a lot, didn't you, brother?
Yeah, I helped a lot of people. You're
Well,
not the only
yeah.
one, but
Well,
it's just
yeah,
that was
it's
the main
greatly
part of Flight
appreciated.
Test for me.
Bill,
Or Flight Test.
that's exactly what I was going to say. This is our community, and if we want the community
Stop
to
hitting the
remain,
table.
if we want the community to remain, or the Flight Fest to remain with the family feeling that it's always had,
We gotta look
You
out
know,
for each other.
we have to take it upon ourselves and not say, oh well, they need to do this or they should do that. We need to have we need to think about this, and maybe volunteer positions need to be made up.
Yeah.
You know, maybe we need people in the build tents all night, overnight, just keeping an eye on things. I don't know.
Well,
It's
I think
sorry.
you hit it right
Go
on
ahead,
the
Bill.
head there, Pat. Yeah. But
No,
Well,
I was the only thing I was going to pipe in and say is, you know, everyone in the 2016 event, everyone was kind of self-policing. Everyone was watching everyone else's stuff. So if you wanted to borrow a tool,
I think that still went on.
yeah, it still went on.
Yeah.
For
But
sure.
what
But
I saw was a lot of people from the videos that I did see of previous Flight Fest, somebody would come in and those tables, you'd have 2 or 3 separate builders on a table.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Now this year, when I was working a build tent, I seen guys come in that camp big old toolboxes, rolling carts, and they take up a whole table or more.
Yep.
You know, and then they walk away from their stuff. You know,
Yeah.
that's
Yep.
That's
you know,
exactly what
I can see.
noticed.
I can see watching my neighbor while I'm building, but to sit there and watch somebody is spread out over a table and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's got to be there's got to be some kind of ruling on that and a little bit of balance,
Yeah.
I would think, and that would help.
Yeah.
And I agree.
And you also have to take a little personal responsibility for yourself too, and use a little common sense, and
Yep.
don't leave stuff unattended.
I don't think it helped that we lost almost a quarter of the build tent to what effectively became storage in the back of the build tent west, the west build tent.
Yeah.
There was audio equipment in there. We lost almost a quarter of the space. So what normally would have been packed to the end with tables, like the east build tent was, it was lost. So we also, not only were the build tents smaller by comparison and people taking up more space, we also lost a quarter of it to storage. And I think what Ben was saying, or I think Pat or Ben, one of you guys was saying that I think the intention of that was to be used for the build series, and for a build series area to happen within the build tent, but it never came to fruition. I think a lot of it had to do with that, but at the same time, I don't know. I speak for everybody here, but I still had a lot of fun at the event. I really did.
Oh
enjoy
yeah,
the
definitely.
event.
Me too.
Oh, my eyes didn't. I don't think I blinked 5 times the first 3 days I was there. Just, I mean, from the minute we walked in, ask Jim. The minute we walked in, the first thing we saw was Josh and it's based on his name.
Yeah.
Painter dude, the new guy.
Yeah.
Josh and Chad pulled up in the
Chad
truck
Lewis,
and they were unloading the foamies. And the first thing I saw was them. Josh jumps out of the truck, shakes my hand, gives me a big old hug, says he recognized me because of the beard and stuff.
A trademark beard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's great.
But that was getting over, for me, the first time getting over that whole wide-eyed, squirrel, ooh, shiny squirrel,
Shiny squirrel.
that whole mentality was a big part of it.
Yeah, and also, another thing, because I'm sorry to do this, guys, because we've kept you guys a long time, obviously. So we're going over 2 hours, so obviously want to kind of start thinking about wrapping up. So with that being said, let's kind of go into some of the good parts. I definitely had a great time flying. I flew 3 times more this year than I did last year. But let's kind of talk about everyone's experience flying on the flight line. I think it would be hard pressed of me not to let Aaron speak on flight line etiquette and safety, and his experience flying at this year's Flight Fest.
You mean that point where I had 2 spotters and somebody came flying over my head over about 120 miles an hour?
Something like that,
Wow.
yeah. I did catch that on video.
Yes, you did, and I loved it. And it was my bad.
That was Lane's Plains Cuda. He thought his spotter told him he had a clear shot, had the runway.
Hi, everyone.
And I looked up because I could hear it buzzing as it came, and I was setting this guy out and looked up, and they were just flying over my head. I don't know how much it missed me by, but
Oh, I also got to say something about being on the flight line. But yeah,
but,
you can,
go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
And then I also had a goblin come pretty close to me. The ready-made RC, their goblin.
Oh yeah, one of those goblins made a really high-speed crash. Wow.
I was standing.
My
there, went
heart
over my
skipped a
head.
beat for a second.
Jeez. But
It
anyway,
went into 10. So.
Let's talk about
that's some flying and crashing.
Let's talk about the aircraft that's sitting behind you to what appears to be my right. I'm assuming it's your left.
Yeah, it looks like everything's backwards, isn't it?
Yeah.
Red 31.
But that was part of the one of the forum challenges that they did this year. Josh Orchard started that, and so that one's the Travel Air Mystery Ship. It's been quoted as being the one that started the golden era racing. So I thought it was a good fit, and I had one go visit, so that was an extra incentive to pick that one.
That's awesome.
But yeah, no, it took its second flight there during when we shut down the runway and everybody's sitting there watching, and I had the goofy little helmet on. It was my daughter's helmet I put on at the last minute. Spray painted it red to match, rather than the pink and the flowers that it was just 40 seconds before. It was literally still wet. No, I think that was actually better than what I had. At least yours was stylish. But no, Joel spotted for me and Jim spotted for me.
It was fun, Jim, right? That was a great time. We had fun with that.
Yeah.
Captain Labs for you, Aaron?
Well, considering most of those planes didn't have 5 packs on them total in their lifespan before that race, I was kind of disappointed that it was only one pylon, and the fact that they're like, well, Ben's gonna fly this, and then they're gonna do the race. I started walking back to get my safety gear, and all of a sudden they're calling the racers to the flight line, and I had to run across that field barefooted across those corn stalks to get to the field in time to fly or to be spotted for Jonathan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also have been spotted for. I think I've been spotted for quite a few people as well, and which brings me to my experience on the flight line as well as being volunteer the first time, and that was a really weird, almost surreal experience. I mean, given that sense of authority, but still feeling engaged with the people, like, yeah, it's so weird. I mean, I was given that sense of authority because I had to instruct people what to do and engage in the safety precautions, but they were all very nice and understanding of what I was saying. And yeah, we had a great time, and those people as well. And at a few times I ran to a few people and went checking their planes and congratulating them flying, and yeah, just watching all flying them. It was such a great experience, and every time I said something like please stand back behind the pilot line or all that kind of stuff, people were very understanding, and that was really nice.
Yeah, I have to say, one minor comment I have about the flight line is 0 pilot stations. That was a little bit interesting, not having any stations set up, not even on the main line, or the flight line. And
they said they were going to put pilot stations with chargers on the flight line, or behind the flight line, didn't they? And they didn't do it.
Someone was chiming in with you, Rick. Who was that?
It was probably me. One of the things I was going to say is along those lines, the quad guys on either end, they had stations. They have 4 stations on either end. And what people were doing was there's 4 chairs to fly. And if you wanted to fly on that frequency, you just basically got in line as they rotated out. They need to do something like that on the main line, because a little bit I did get to see from the tents. There's a lot of people launching really close to other people. One pilot's looking up the sky. He's got his little kid spotting for him, and they're talking. And somebody else launches a plane, and the wingtip just goes right by their ear, because there was that many people that close. I mean, there definitely has to be a distinction for safety on that. I mean, especially with new people.
Yeah.
I think what they ought to do is with that pilot meeting is with the pilot passes is when you go to the morning pilot briefing, you get that stamped. If you come to a flight line, you don't have the day stamp, you don't fly because you didn't make the meeting.
Yeah.
I think that should be something that should be enforced, because the fact that a lot of newer people are coming and they don't know flight line etiquette or safety.
Yeah. Or at least
I'm not even sure if I went to one of the pilot meetings. I know I've been to pretty much every volunteer meeting, but I'm not so sure about the pilot meeting.
Well, in principle, I think that's a good idea. There needs to be another way to get that same kind of information out, because some people don't come at early in the day, and you'll have day comers and day flyers that maybe don't make it there for the 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock meeting. But there still needs to be some kind of funding or
something like that. You got guys something. That are volunteering on a line. If they come and find a volunteer, they can say, "Hey, I didn't make the pilot briefing. Could you tell me what it's all about?" And they go over to what the briefing was, and they can stamp them and let them be on there.
Yeah.
And
Mike, what you got?
Well, one of the things we talked about last year, if everyone remembers, we only had one pilot meeting all of last year. And one of the things that we talked about that I don't know that we ever really talked to flight tests about was maybe having a small tent or a table somewhere where we could instruct pilots before they go out. If it wasn't nothing but like a poster and going, look, you have to do this, this, and maybe have either a stamp or a colored wristband for the day or something that you can give to the people that were instructed. And if they're not instructed, then you have to go back to that tent to get instructed before you can go out on the flight line.
100%. And
in addition to that, what I would also say is if you have entry points where people come in to the flight area before they get to the stations, and I saw Ryan post this, we were talking about this at the event, you have a posted sign at various spots that people have to walk by so that it's posted. So now they know, spelled out, what is expected, so that when we're reminding them, we're just repeating what's already been covered in whatever briefings, whatever meetings, and right there at the entry point. So it's no surprise, and it's just about keeping people safe as we're trying to have fun.
And it also gives you grounds to remove somebody who gets a little offended about it and doesn't want to listen.
Yep.
Pat.
Yeah. Thank you. I think Flite Fest is suffering from an identity crisis. It wants to be an informal, fun, laid-back thing. We've got the combats. The combats are massive.
Yeah, we'll talk combat here in a minute.
They did a better job this year of keeping the flight line further out, keeping the away from the crowd, which was a big problem last year. But Flite Fest wants to be a come, be relaxed, have fun atmosphere, but at the same time, it's getting to the point where
it's too big.
Somebody's going to get hurt.
1,200 pounds.
So there has to be some kind of.
There has to be structure.
Agreed. It's nothing to shake.
I would definitely say that they shouldn't change the event for what it is right now. I should just say they would practice a little more safety, but I wouldn't want it to change the way it is right now, because that would definitely probably upset the way Flite Fest is usually conducted.
And with that being said, sorry, Mike, I'm going to pass it right over to you. With that being said, a lot of this, and I think a lot of it also boils down to the fact that a lot of pilots who are flying at the event usually don't even fly at a club field. So the understanding of the normal rules that you would establish at a club field, pattern, takeoff, landing, calling out, calling out intentions, all of that type of thing, is not something that these pilots would normally practice anyway. So establishing some kind of ground rules or basis for the flight line is definitely something that is required and or recommended. Mike.
Well, and the only thing I'm going to say about it is I don't think that being safe is going to take anything away from the family feeling of it. I mean, to be honest with you, in case you guys don't know, I only flew twice and had a spotter both times, crashed once, and flew my Radian in the Radian fly. That was it. But, you know, if people can't handle being told how to be safe, that's not our problem. That's theirs.
That they should be flying. Yeah.
And they
I'm
should
sorry.
be held accountable for that as well.
Absolutely, they should be. But at the same time, I think Flight Test and the volunteers have to set the rules up front.
And
I'm so glad that all the people I had to deal with were very nice and understanding, and they were always listening to the safety instructions I gave them. And yeah, it's really great, and I hope to keep it that way.
I don't think anyone's asking it to be, and I don't remember which event it was where they get hollered at every time they turn around.
It's in New York.
Yeah. But at the same time, there has to be just some basic rules, guys. It's not that hard.
No,
there is no established protocol there. It's a free for all.
There's not, and you are correct.
And on the establishment of free-for-all, a little bit of controlled free-for-all occurred with the combats. And let me just say, the combats this year were probably some of the greatest combats that I have ever seen.
Absolutely.
At one of these events.
Was insane.
Yeah, Stefan kept everybody in line from what I saw, and it wasn't as mayhem as it's been.
He certainly did his best.
Yeah, and let's talk about Stefan and his emceeing abilities, because the way he emceed those combats, though, he has the personality, he has the charisma for it. He totally has that whole thing going for him.
Yep.
I felt so bad for him when I heard him talk on the last day.
Oh yeah.
Cool. Wait,
you see him on the following vlog that they just did?
Oh man.
Yeah, what words came out of his mouth on Sunday? Because I don't remember any.
Yeah, it wasn't much.
Yeah.
All I remember is him saying, "All right, let's see some carnage." That's all I remember.
I couldn't talk much Sunday either, but
yeah,
he freaking nailed it.
And for show of hands, how many of you guys actually flew in a combat this year?
I wanted
to. Ben was the only one.
Don't everybody raise their hand at once.
Yeah, really? Ben was the only one in this entire group sitting here who actually flew a combat.
And I gotta say, the only reason I flew is because Dan Sponels made me the Super Bee airframe. He just glued together the pieces for me, and I brought the Angry Bee guts. And I didn't think I was going to finish it, but I just barely got it all put together before the last combat of Saturday evening. And like they were announcing it in a couple of minutes, and I'm like, this is ready to go. And I hadn't flown it yet. So Josh Orchard took it out there for me, and he threw it. And he told me later, he was like, I didn't think it was going to fly because I clipped the wings. I made it even more angry than the first one.
That thing's a brick.
That thing is a flying brick.
I cut 3 inches of span off the thing. I cut 1.5 inches off each wingtip. Probably.
Well, and watching that.
No wonder it was
so I maidened it in combat. And the first pass, I took it out real slow and then circled around. And then I made
slow, relatively speaking.
Well, yeah. But then I made my first full throttle pass across the pack and made Stefan wake up, which was fun.
Yeah, you woke up the whole build tent.
And you can hear on my video, you can hear Josh Orchard just cackling off camera as soon as I made that pass. But I made half a dozen, 8 or 9 full throttle passes through the pack. Didn't hit a single plane.
Yeah, that was hilarious. By the way.
Yeah. I did fly during one combat. I think it was a Saturday evening, one of the last ones I could do. I flew the Mavic though, And so I didn't fly in it. I flew around it.
There you go. There you go. And you've got some. Actually, you've got some incredible. Talking about some AP stuff, real quick. You got some amazing AP work out there, by the way.
Oh yeah, a lot of it was luck, but yeah, it worked out pretty good.
Yeah, Jim, he was the one that we were pointing. We thought that one Mavic that went over the flight, over the tent line. Remember when we thought somebody lost their quad and it was a flyaway? That was his.
Solving mysteries one step at a time.
Yeah. There was about a dozen Mavics out there, so
yeah.
they were
But you admitted to that flight that I was talking about on the forums.
Well, I flew mine early Wednesday morning over everything just to kind of get an idea what it was looking like, you know, with all the rain, and that was the only time I flew it.
Yeah.
You posting any videos there, Mike?
Not yet.
I
flew 4 packs through my stuff.
I also wanted to fly combat, but I didn't really get to that point because I was so overbearing with building and trying to meet all the people I wanted to meet that I kind of lost touch with all the flying. And well, there was actually not much time anymore left to fly. So yeah.
And on the subject of
make a compromise,
on the subject of building and flying, Rick probably had one of the most spectacular crashes that I saw. And on the subject of crashes, because we'll dive into some epic crashes that we all saw here in just a second. But real quick, Mike, can you make the announcement for us, please?
Oh yeah. So Lane Star from Lane's Planes is wanting the community.
That's all of you who are listening right now.
And we will put this also out on the forums as well.
Forum, Facebook, you name it.
Facebook, everywhere.
This is my listening face.
There you go, Ben.
And we're going to take a screenshot of that.
Get to it.
Hey, wait, do it again. Keep still. Don't move. Okay, we're good.
Okay. So
all right, let's get to the point.
So what he's looking for is the sad sack, the worst
worst weekend award.
Worst luck. Yeah, first, the worst weekend luck award.
I got that
for somebody.
I have to win that. I have to win that. Right?
You get an honorable mention, Pat.
I'm going to definitely say Pat had a pretty bad one, but yeah, we're looking for, and we want the listeners and everybody from the community to send in some stories about people, and we're actually going to announce that and have Lane come on with us and actually give an award, and he will be sending you something special for that award. So,
absolutely. And guys, to do that, please email us through the Contact Us page on our website. That's ftccpodcast.com. And as Mike mentioned, we're going to be bringing Lane on from Lane's Planes in 2 weeks to go through the stories and also choose the winner. So make sure you guys listen to that.
Now, these crash stories that you're looking for, do they need to be substantiated with video? Because, on the forums.
Well, it's not necessarily just about crashing.
It's the whole weekend.
It's the whole weekend. This is
an
accumulation of the worst luck.
Bill's Law, I got you all beat. You can't defeat Bill's Law.
I don't know.
Murphy's Law is pretty good too.
Yeah, the Bill's Law specifically states it covers anything Murphy may have forgot, omitted, or didn't even know in the first place. So anything that can happen will happen to Bill.
I do know of one guy. I don't know the name. I have no details other than Thursday morning when I went out to do my duty at the greeter station. There was a guy who was driving away in the RV because he had gotten a phone call from his wife that he had like a foot of water in his basement.
Oh, damn.
Oh man.
Language.
Yeah, that's not good. Not good at all. And with that being said, let's talk real quick about some of the worst crashes that we saw. And we'd be hard pressed to go without actually highlighting Lane himself.
Yes.
for his spectacular triad of crashing.
It wasn't a triad. It was a quadad.
It was a quadad?
We had 4.
Oh, jeez, dude.
I really like quad ads. They taste really good.
They taste
Really good? Quadads?
Because we're hunting Wascoey Wabbits.
Yeah, well, wow. Okay,
Hey, Joe-
so here's
Joe,
quadad.
allow me to take it away on the crash things.
Yep, go for it with
Yeah.
your arrow crash.
Yeah, first off, so I spent a pretty long time in the build tent with another guy. I forget what his last name was, but his name was also Dan, and his son Aiden, which were also next to Bill, helping me out building the arrow with providing me with the tools, which was great. And when I was done, I built my first arrow, which was a great experience. But it didn't take long before I crashed that arrow, and yeah, my heart skipped a beat that moment.
You didn't just crash an arrow, Rick. You
No.
cut that thing clean in half.
Yeah, like this.
Yeah, I saw the aftermath of that.
He butterflied an arrow.
I literally split it in half, and I was like, how did I do that? How could I do
That's
that?
how we met when you showed me that.
Yeah,
It was.
You were looking
It
for
was
help.
quite a-
Tools.
and I was like, I'm gonna try to repair it one time, or I don't know. I think I tried to repair it 2 times, and it just kept fluttering, and I was not satisfied at all with the way it flew, and I was like, F this, I'm just gonna buy a new kit, and I'm gonna rebuild that arrow and put the parts in that I still have that are still usable, and there we go.
Yeah.
I still have a flyable arrow. Hold on.
And on the subject of crashing without warning, how many Spectrum pilots had lockouts?
Well, can I talk about one?
Yeah, please do.
I
Mikey.
watched I'll just say during the Radiant Fly, poor David Raymond.
Yes.
He drove his into the runway like a lawn dart. I have never seen a Radiant going that fast.
They're not
It's
designed to go that fast.
to the ground. Complete lockout. He locked out 5 times during that flight, and I'm telling you, when he came in, he hollered at everybody. And of course, I was focusing on my Radiant. When I heard it hit, I had to look, and I lost my Radiant for about a minute.
Oh, wow.
It was like I only got to fly 4 packs the whole week through my gear on the whole weekend. Jim got to fly one of them on my my Alien, but my very first flight, I was been talking to people about flying. I got videos up flying, and I'm doing pretty good. So my first flight, I go out with Litterbug first thing in the morning before we had our duty, and he's flying his tri, and I'm next to him, and I'm flying the Alien, and he does a couple of tricks and stuff. And me being cold first thing in the morning, I launched this thing up to the atmosphere, flip it over like 3 or 4 times, bring it down. I was gonna flip it over right before it hit the ground, and instead of coming down upside down facing me, it came down 90 degrees off.
Oh,
And when I
jeez.
flipped it, it knife edged, and it cartwheeled almost all the way out to the corn or the beans. or whatever.
Oh no!
Oh, dude.
So that was my introduction
Wow.
to Litterbug as a pilot.
Oh, boy.
That reminds me of the time I first flew my my Volterra F210. I dropped that thing out of the sky somehow. I don't remember exactly how. And that, of all the places it could cartwheel into, of course it had to cartwheel in the brook.
Oh, yeah,
And it wasn't good, but it survived.
and it flew another day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not all of these brownouts were Spectrum brownouts.
No. And
No, they were not.
Andrew makes a really good point because even Tyrannus guys were having issues.
I
Thank
didn't.
goodness- Thank goodness I never had an issue on mine. I was half
Yeah,
expecting
me
it.
neither.
But yeah, go on, Mikey.
I fly Spectrum, and of course, like I said, I only got the one Radiant flight, and I was flying when everybody was flying. I didn't lose signal not one time. When I lost my Radian, it was because I was looking at Dave Rainman's plane, not because of Spectrum.
Exactly. Exactly.
You didn't lose connection. You lost sight.
I lost sight, not connection.
There were. I heard issues with Gropner. I heard issues with Tyrannus. So everyone was having issues. And I think.
Yes.
I think it goes without
more
saying.
than others.
Yeah, I think it goes without saying that everyone was experiencing some form of RF issues there at the event.
And from Mike and I have had this experience. We flew out at Fury Field earlier in the summer when it was only a handful of us, and we still had lockout issues. So there's something out there on 2.4 that is periodically blasting something.
I think it's the oil pump because
Yeah,
there was a
I
couple
think
of
Bob
people
said
saying-
that. Background Bob said that.
Yeah, there were a couple of there's two big oil pumps out there, and they have some form of telemetry system that runs on 2.4 Wi-Fi. And they're saying that was what was pumping out interference because everyone, and that's exactly what happened to Lane when he dropped the CUDA in from an inverted pass. Was he flew over one of the he was flying inverted and he was bringing it out up over the oil rig and totally lost all telemetry, all signal, and dived it. I mean that.
Wow.
Lawn darted as well. He totaled that airplane that day, and he also totaled another CUDA, a CUDA that did not belong to him.
Yep.
And the saddest news was that Jai Norman lost a wing. The sad cow was sad.
But it is fixable, and he's working on it.
And he is.
And I would also like to
lights in.
Yeah, 1,000 lights.
Yeah, 1,000.
I would also like to say something real quick, which Big Ben pointed out. Thank you for that, buddy. By the way, if you're flying like a small plane like the Arrow, it makes a world of difference when you put the antennas inside or outside. Make sure to put the antennas outside in a 90-degree corner outside of your plane, because that really makes a world of difference, and it's going to make your plane so much more reactive, and well, it's going to track better as well, because otherwise you have sometimes a little jitters and it interferes with the ESC and your motor starts steering as well, and yeah, it can also contribute to great flying or diving into the ground.
Yeah.
So yeah, be mindful of that.
Yeah. No.
Two things I learned about this that I've been reading on the forums with everybody having problems with this is 90% of the people that had problems were not using the actual Spectrum receivers. They were using lemons and the oranges.
This thing, the little box.
Oranges are all DSM2.
Yep.
Yeah,
Lemons
two specific spots
I
out
got
in
a
that
free.
field
I got an
where
FR Sky
people
one.
were having brownouts and blackouts and stuff like that. And it was one where Rocky Boy crashed right next to that one oil pump out there.
Mm-hmm.
So from there to about maybe midfield, almost center of the main line, there was an area in there. There was a dead spot. That was, if you come into it low, you lost your radio.
Mm-hmm.
If you were high, you would get out of it, and it would be intermittent. But further down on the right-hand side, there was another area, the exact same thing. So
I ran into the right-hand area.
Yeah.
I only had one issue, and it was actually when I was flying the Baby Bugatti for their episode coverage while Alex was chasing me. And it was a split-second brownout, but it was, I troubleshot it afterwards, noticed that my radio antenna was pointed in the same direction that my airplane antenna, because my airplane antenna was longitudinally and it was flying away from me. And so I had both those antennas were in the weak orientation plus way out there. And it's a little park flyer. So the other thing I would say this is just, things you learn, that to educate people, size your receivers for your plane appropriately, and don't fly park flyers far away.
Yeah.
Single antennas receivers were always going to give you a problem when there's more than one or two people up.
Agreed.
I learned that with my
Well, and
quads.
especially if you don't stay close.
Yeah.
Every quad I have that I built, I put the one stub right up off the back corner straight up, and then I'll put the second one straight out the back.
Yeah.
So no matter when I'm upside down or I'm facing away from me or facing at me, I've always got something that can see the radio.
Yeah,
Yep.
Absolutely. Well, guys, I don't want to keep everybody too long because I want to respect everybody's time, and I know it's getting awfully late for Rick. So
Yeah.
I just
don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I still want to say two more things before I leave. So
Yep.
don't
go
worry
for
about it.
Go for it.
All
Rick.
right. So first, a little bit of comic relief. I found that weird conversation with me and Baloo and in the comments. So this is I quote. So first I said, "What's that? Did I heard a soft giggle at 3:33:49?" Josh, winky face. And then some guy said, "Yep, yes he did." And then there's this weird person that said the thing. So this is on the build video of the cup, by the way. So this person said Black Metal Dash is a Botox, Bouttockcks, Botox or something.
Buttocks, meaning
And then
a rear end.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was
Botox.
thinking as well. And then Baloo responded.
Counts.
Then Baloo responded, "That word does not exist, Rebecca. Google doesn't even suggest did you mean. If you want to insult someone, at least do it right." And then I said, "What's with that name calling for anyway, Rebecca?" And then she replies, "Baloo, you're actually cool." And then from there on, it just gets completely out of context.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was a really weird experience there. All right, so now that we had that, before we wrap this up, I just want to give some honorary mentions. First off, for the guy who's here with us, Bill, thank you a lot for borrowing me your tools.
That's what we're all about. Man.
I don't think I could have done it without you, so really, thanks a lot for it.
Yeah,
Next on the
was a big
list,
project.
Dan and your son Aiden, if you're watching this, also thanks a lot to you for helping me out with the first arrow build. Patrick, if you didn't pick up on me, I don't think I would have been able to get to Flite Fest. So also thanks a million, buddy. Greatly appreciated. And then a mystery person, which I've not been able to figure out his name, but it was an elder guy, I believe, at the last volunteer meeting, who commended me for my volunteer duty on the flight line, and he wanted to thank me, and I also wanted to thank him back at the very bottom of my heart, because it really touched me on the inside. So if you're watching this and you were talking to me on the last volunteer meeting, please let me know. I appreciate it greatly.
Apparently, that was Andrew Snyder's dad.
That could have been. So
thank you for bringing up Andrew Snyder and his dad. It was great meeting them. Really cool guys.
Yeah, Andrew. It was
Really
his
cool
first.
guys, yeah.
Was it Andrew? Correct me if I'm wrong. It was your first year at the event.
So was mine.
We'll
First
wait
flight
for the
test.
5 seconds here for him to answer us. But meanwhile, I also want to give a very quick honorable mention to Michael Hetrick. I hope I'm pronouncing your last name correctly. And yes, it was Andrew's first year at Flite Fest, so it was really good to meet you for the first time, buddy. I have to say thank you so much for having a long conversation. He allowed me to fly his little biplane, and my God, it was probably one of the best flying minis I have ever flown, and I really enjoyed catching up with you and talking about it. So we'll get more into detail on that plane and what my thoughts were. Because, dude, it was a ton of fun to just buzz around, and it was great catching up with you. He's a long-time regular listener, and it was great hanging out with him. Andrew, it was also awesome seeing you. And anyone else who I have forgot to mention, we'll go more into it next time. But really big thank you to everyone who approached us and introduced
Mike,
themselves
you
to
also
us.
as well. Thank you for letting me fly your Radiant. I had a blast flying that thing. It was amazing. Thanks, buddy.
No problem, bud.
And yeah, hopefully see you guys in the near future. I hope maybe if it happens, I hope I see some of you guys at Flight Fest Europe. If it happens, because we don't know it yet, it's not confirmed, but hopefully it will be. And I'm pretty sure if it happens, me and Baloo are definitely gonna be there. That's for sure.
Yep.
Yep. Anyone else want to make any final comments, final honorable mentions, anything that before we wrap up?
Most definitely.
Bill, go for it.
First and foremost, Jim, brother, I can't thank you enough, man. The relationship we built over those 5 days and the weeks prior, with you convincing me that I had to go, or you're gonna come snatch me out of my house.
That's
Dude,
awesome.
There's nothing better than that out of this whole thing. And
it was my pleasure, friend. You're good company in the ride over.
We're gonna keep that going for sure. And I got one more thing for you engineer guys. On my 100-mile-an-hour quad build, I had issues with the ESCs, but I also figured this out. Now, this frame is bolted tight right now, and I don't know if you guys will be able to hear this, but have you ever heard a carbon fiber frame do this?
That sounds like a guitar string, dude.
It sounds like one of those jaw harps. Doink, doink, doink,
Yep.
doink, doink.
They call them a juice harp.
Oh my!
You know how hard that was to try to even figure that out? I had the filters on the KISS FC as high as they could go.
Yeah.
And I still could not get this thing to hover.
Speaking of quads, if there's anyone feeling up to it, I would greatly appreciate it if you could approach me and help me build my quad. It would really help me out. I hope it to finish in the next few months.
Talk to Bill.
Yeah, Bill.
Brother.
If you have some time,
give me an idea what you're building, what you want to do with it.
Do you have Facebook?
Nah, unfortunately, I don't. It's leaning more and more towards me having to do it with all this stuff and getting involed. But
yeah, we're gonna have to get you on, especially with people approaching you.
Yeah, because it supports a real-time chat and it makes it so much easier to talk about stuff.
Yeah, well, I normally just do Skype or the forums.
I also have Skype.
I tried to stay away from social media as much as possible because that is the most unsocial place in the world.
Yeah, I feel you there.
Depending on the groups you're involved.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, but you still got to deal with the rest of it. You know, you can only block so much, and some of it gets through.
Yes.
But I'm more than willing to help you work out a quad. You know.
Yeah, just a second. What's your Skype so I can add you?
Do that later.
Great. I gotta move on.
That on the forum because that's my real phone service. I don't want that out in the public.
Yeah. So is your name Cyborg on the forums?
Yes.
Yes. All right. I'll look you up and I'll send you a message.
Awesome.
PSYBORG, not CY.
Yeah, I see it on the. Wait, say that again. Sorry.
PSYBORG.
Okay, got it.
Psy as in psycho.
Yeah, I'll do that right now.
Anyone else? Final honorable mentions?
Well, I got one thing I do want to shout out, only because of Mr. Ben Greenawalt.
Yes, I know.
If anybody's been listening to us since Flight Fest 16, we've been looking for a little girl by the name of Giggles. Is all we knew. She was in our build series, and thankfully this year I found her.
After a year of searching.
I had to go all the way back to Ohio to find her again. But I just want to give a huge shout out to Adam, Carrie, Caitlin, and Amanda Knight. We will be getting them on the show. Caitlin is Giggles, and she has a little sister named Amanda. And this year, we decided to get her the FT Simple Cub along with the
Power pack.
All right, Bill, I sent you a request. There you go.
And got her started. I don't know if they got it finished or not because I didn't get to see them Sunday, but I did want to give them a shout out. Let them know that we are going to be getting in touch with them soon and have been, and that whole family on the podcast, because we really need to get them talking because they are such a fantastic family.
Yeah, after seeing our old grumpy faces, you need somebody to giggle and get everybody smiling.
Yeah. Any last requests, shout outs?
Yeah, I'll throw in a thank you. I want to thank you guys. You guys have made my first trip out there just so welcome. It was so easy to just walk up and say hi and it's like, oh, yeah, you kind of thing. And that sentiment, which was not just mine. I saw other people, and it's just so friendly to walk into and to feel welcome like that. So I was thankful for that. I was thankful for the whole Flite Test staff, the guys that are regular there. They had that same sentiment. Josh Bixler, I mean, what a great guy. From the very beginning, they've assembled a great thing. So I would say thank you to you guys, the community, the Flite Test, and I want to thank God for just making all this stuff possible, because it's a blessing and nothing short of that. It's not a coincidence. It's a blessing. So
yeah, I've said that a million times as well. It's a blessing.
It was great to meet you, man. Finally.
Yeah, seriously,
unbelievable.
Yeah, and by the way, thank you all four of you who are guest hosts on here. Thank you guys for continued support and listening and being so active on the chat. You know, we got Baloo, we got Michael, we got Andrew, we've got David Mack, all of the regular guys who come onto the show live listening every week. You guys help support what we do, and we can do this without you guys. So equally, as much as you thank us, thank you guys.
Yeah, we thank you guys.
Sorry,
so
guys,
much.
I didn't get to see that the chat going on because I'm not on Facebook. I was excluded. Nobody would give me the way to get to the chat. I asked 2 times in the beginning of this so I could keep up with the chats, and nobody loves me.
That's okay.
Dude, we love you.
We'll get you in another way, Bill. It's okay.
Yeah, I feel that hook getting set deeper and deeper.
Right.
Every time I talk to you guys, I feel that little tug.
Yeah.
Before we go, let's share everybody's social handles so that everyone can follow everybody who's here today. Aaron, let's start with you.
For his social handles, Instagram, I'm TN_bridge. Facebook is Aaron Blake. And on the forums, it's
Balake.
Exactly. And then on the forum, I'm Bridge Inspector.
Yeah.
Awesome. Ben, you're up.
On social, I am Ben Harbor, and YouTube also Ben Harbor. On the forums, I'm Mid7Night.
Jim.
Jim CR120 is what I'm at on the forums, and the same thing at gmail.com if you want to email me.
Beautiful. Patrick, social handles.
Patrick John Murphy on Facebook, Earthside Teacher on the forum. That's pretty much it.
And Bill.
I go by Cyborg, PSYBORG, on the Flite Test forums, and my crappy YouTube page is Cyborg FPV. And other than that, when we're in person, you can call me anything but late for dinner.
There you go. And we have Rick.
Yeah, so my Facebook is Rick Kersmakers, but if you have any of the people here on Facebook, you might find me under the name Black Metal Dash. On the forums, it's Black Metal Dash, and on YouTube as well, but that channel is currently undergoing some changes to make space for RC-related videos maybe in the future. I wouldn't count on it in the near future, but just so you know, it's pretty much anywhere Black Metal Dash.
Sweet. Mikey!
Right, so there you go.
Okay, Facebook, it is Michael Finley. And if you're friends with any of these people, any on here, you can find me. On the forums, it's the magic one. It's TheMajik and the number 1. And it's that way on Instagram, YouTube, all of them are that way. So come find me.
Beautiful thing. And finally, last but by no means least, well, actually, least because I'm tiny. But anyway, you can find me online as babybrit_FPV on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and on the forum. On the Facebook, you can find me as Joel Cannon. You are more than welcome to send me a request. My only exception is you have to have something RC related in your page, just so that I know you're a real human being and not some scammer. Last and by no means least, guys, thank you all so very much for listening. You can find us online at the ftccpodcast.com. Go to our Contact Us page for all the stories that we requested, so that we can follow up with Lane in 2 weeks. You can also find our upcoming schedule. Find us on Facebook at the Flight Test Community Podcast. We are also on Instagram at FTCC Podcast. And guys, on the socials, if you want to be featured on our social page, use hashtag FTCC Podcast. We share all of our community's posts on there, and we like to see what everyone gets up to, so please use that hashtag. It helps us greatly for putting out content for the community. Mike has one more thing before we let you go.
I do have one more thing that we didn't really say a whole lot about, and we just want to say, I think from all of us, I think I speak for all of us, thank you, John and Diana Fury, for the use of your field. And I am so sorry that it got tore up as bad as it did. You guys have the biggest hearts of any person, any people I know anywhere. And we love you guys. And whether it's at Fury Field or not, I will always stop there if I'm in Ohio or anywhere where I can get to it. So,
100.
Guys, thank you, and I love you guys.
Thank you to both of them.
Yep. You guys,
I wish I could be there
into
more.
music and stuff a little bit. And I was coming up with an idea maybe for a theme song for the show here.
Oh,
and going along the Joel thing here. I was thinking something along the lines of "We are the friends from the lollipop."
Oh, that's amazing!
I love it.
Hey, Bill, I do work with FL Studio, and I've made some few synthwave tracks, so I can help you out with that, maybe. Maybe.
I can barely read my own language, let alone music.
We'll have to splice some of that in at the end somehow. But guys, from all of us here at FTCC, thank you so much for listening once again. We will see you all in 2 weeks. Blue skies, and we'll catch you on the next one. Take care.
Thanks, guys.